Yeah, and sure.
I'm in forest looking for some exciting images of birds. Let's just see what we can get.
Welcome to the live stream for the Canon Cameras and Lenses Facebook group. I've got some new people here, and basically I'll go through everyone. So we've got the Riddler. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Blake. I'm from Houston, Texas. I've been into photography, I'd say about 2 years. I've really loved photography my whole life. Started a Facebook page recently, and I've got a YouTube channel that we're working on right now that's in the works. I don't really want to drop the name right now because it's a really good one that we've been working on, and we've got it branded and everything. We'll see what happens. My name's Blake, and I'm from Houston.
Dan?
Well, I'm Dan Schubert. I've been in photography for about 29 years now. A little bit less active when I was younger, of course, because I was just 11 and had to learn that it costs a lot of money to develop that film every time I push that button. Yeah, I usually do no live streams. I have no YouTube channel. And I do equine photography and equine event photography.
Alan?
Dan lives in a shack with his horses out in the woods.
Yes. Pretty much.
Hi, everybody. My name's Alan. I've been a photographer for about 5 years now, specializing in mainly portraits and don't look at me like that. And landscape, wildlife, and automotive. I also do videography work. Oh, my camera's over here. I'm looking at the TV. I also do videography work. You couldn't tell. At my local church, and I try to at least. I'm also one of the admins on our Facebook group as well, and this is Paul, Dan, and I's what number? This is number 4, 3, 4,
5. I think.
5. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learned your new number today.
Yeah. 5.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah. So hi, I'm Alan.
Marshall?
Hi, I'm Marshall, and I bought my first SLR, I think it was in 1978. And so I've been an avid photographer for a long time. And I use what I learned about the technology of photography to get into a career in graphics and video. So I have worked for a series of semiconductor companies making digital video technology of all kinds of some of the very, very, very first streaming video products and accelerated graphics cards. And now I work on field programmable gate arrays that do digital video and get used in television sets and consumer devices. But I'm still an avid advanced amateur. And lately my favorite form has been concert photography. So I'm like kind of like a kid because I often have to smuggle my camera into shows and get away with taking as many photos as I can until it's time to stop. Most notably, Neil Young's manager didn't like me at all. He told me to erase everything I just shot of Neil Young, so I formatted memory card B right in front of him and walked out with the full memory card A. And now I'm starting to work with bands directly, and I'll probably longer until maybe there's a money. So that's what I do.
Cool.
Right. So my name's Paul. I sort of set up Canon Lenses and the Facebook group basically. And I tend to do a bit of wildlife photography, generally speaking. Test lenses out, and I'm always looking for like the best telephoto lens that you can afford on a budget. I have sort of spent a bit too much on long telephoto lenses, because I'm always looking for the best that I can afford, really. And essentially, I like to go off to local parks and take wildlife images of all sorts, ranging from birds to squirrels, rats, believe it or not, and all sorts of different types of wildlife, really. But obviously, I've spent a lot of time building up the YouTube channel as well that's connected to the Facebook group. And I thought I'd do these live streams as a way of engaging with the audience, gaining and basically showcasing a bunch of knowledge from some seasoned professionals or amateurs or people that want to get into photography. And I thought something like this would be very informative and helpful, and I think a lot of people do enjoy it, especially you guys. Yeah.
There we go. Now we got it all.
That was for you, Dan.
I want to kick off the show with talking about a new camera that's come out, the R8, which is a bit of a disappointment, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
APS-C, 24 megapixels with some strange kind of flippy screen, due to be announced CP Plus in Japan in February, basically. I think it's the 23rd, not sure on that, but what do you guys think about that? It sounds a bit pointless, if you ask me.
I don't know. I think it kind of hits a niche that needed to be updated, but I have not used it, seen it, touched it, felt it, or read much about it, so I have not too much to say about the R8, especially not experience-wise.
Yeah, I haven't read anything on it yet, so I don't want to touch base on something I don't know too much about.
There's basic information on Canon rumors on it. The general consensus is it's going to be above the R10 but below the R7. I was under the impression that it was going to be a full frame release, and then they changed that, and it's because I was hoping for a revision of the EOS R, but that hasn't come to pass, basically. So it does seem a bit pointless at the moment, because you've got the R10 already. It's the same sort of megapixels. So, just obviously we need a bit more information on it to find out what it's really for and who it's aimed at. They may slash the price, I suppose, and make it below the R10, I suppose. That's a possibility. But I'm a bit confused about this kind of flippy screen, how that would work. How could that work? Have you any thoughts on that, Alan?
Well, I haven't seen anything on the screen in particular, but as to the discussion as to a lot of people don't see where this camera lines up. I just want to keep in mind that, especially in our group, we cater to photographers of all levels. And, let's think of Canon's transition to the RF mount as sort of like a new beginning. So remember that they've had generations after generations of EF crop sensor cameras, like the Rebel line and the SL3, SL2, SL1 line, the 80 and 90Ds, all the way up to the 10Ds. Somebody posted the other day that they still need to fill in those gaps for in the RF mount. And, yes, it's going to take, like we've discussed before, it's going to take time. And I see that this being somewhere in between, because I think we think of the R7 as a higher end crop sensor APS-C mirrorless from Canon right now. That's not necessarily full frame. That's just about as good as you can get until you go full frame. And this will be somewhere either at I'm disappointed that it's just another 24 megapixel sensor when they couldn't use the same at least 30 or 32 megapixel sensor that they've got laying around. But maybe it will have better video specs. Maybe it will be catered toward a specific niche of video users or photo users. Maybe it'll have a super high burst rate or formats that we don't see, and maybe it'll have newer features. Because technology's getting way too fast to catch up, and I haven't updated in 2 months, and it's saying there's like 3 updates that I need to do for my camera. It's ridiculous. Damn. So it'll find a place.
There's another possibility, and remember my perspective is I sell chips to companies that manufacture cameras and TV. I've been to Japan like a million times talking to these people, and they can often do a refresh to cost reduce something because they've got these incredibly tight margins. And in my view, the R10 and the R7 are really excellently positioned for the kind of person that they're for. I think Canon. I mean, the thumb wheel is in a weird spot on the R7, but overall, at those price points, they're great. But it could well be they said, hey, we need something we can sell in Costco or Walmart. Right. And we don't want to cancel these 2 cameras, but we did find a way to make it cheaper, and we can take some things out. And, maybe it's like that camera with a 2-lens bundle for, $1,100 or $1,200 or something. Right. So it's not always about who's it for. A lot of times it's about where can we sell it. And Canon, has a lot of these, a lot of background in like updating the Rebel like every single year in almost insignificant ways, right? Yeah, and having these like little one-offs, but then it shows up in Costco and these mass merchants. So we'll see what happens when it comes out, but we shouldn't read so much into it like it's a big disappointment, whatever, because they could have different things in mind.
Yeah. Looking at the lineup for new RF lenses, primes in particular, we're looking at the 35 1.2, 24 1.4, and 28, but we don't know what aperture that would be yet. Yeah, I know Alan's a big fan of primes. I think they do line up, and I don't think they're going to be too expensive.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah. Oh, there'll be an arm and a leg. I think I'm going to take this arm right here at the joint for the 35. And I'm thinking this leg for the 24.
Seems like a fair offer.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious about it because in my view, right, like when I started in photography, like an f1.4 or an f1.2 lens, if you could afford that, it's all about like low light performance, right? Because we had film and like ASA 400 was about as fast as you wanted to go, but now with these sensors, in my view, right, if you have a good sensor, 3,200, 6,400, even 12,000, you can get great results. Easy. So I don't think like a fast lens, like, spending $1,000 more for one more stop of light or 2 stops of light makes any sense. So I get like why I would love to get an 85 1.2 for shooting concerts, right? Because that soft focus look is like fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't understand, and I'd love you guys to explain to me, like, why do I want a 35 like 1.2 or 1.4? Because like I don't need the light, and I'm not going to get thin depth of field if I'm shooting like 28 or 35 millimeters. So I'd love to be fit in because I mean it's just my personal misunderstanding.
I did a video recently where I took my 2.8 300 lens. And I looked at apertures because I do have an f11 lens, which is a really dark aperture. And the difference in shutter speed, there's 2 apertures there that is massive.
Yeah.
And when you want to stop action, basically 500, 650 per second ain't going to do it for you. You need 2,000. And f11 struggles to get there. Unless you ramp that ISO to 12,000, I ain't going to get 2,000th of a second. But if I got a 2.8 aperture, I can achieve that at ISO. I think at ISO 1,000 or at, I can achieve that quite easily. But
and you guys, you shoot fast moving things with like 35 mil and 28 mil lenses?
No, but obviously I use long lenses, you see, and birds don't sit for you. You know, obviously if they're flying in the air,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
you aren't going to achieve that. And it doesn't matter. It isn't just birds. It can be cars, aircraft, whatever it is that moves really fast. Even, I suppose, bullets if you want to do stop motion. But yeah, you need a high shutter speed, and basically small apertures aren't going to do it for you. And unfortunately, you have to spend the money to get those big apertures. You know, whenever you see a sports photographer with his white Canon lens 500 f4 or 300 2.8 or 2.8 400, they've spent like between probably 10 13 grand on those lenses. And when it gets dark, you need that aperture. But in daylight, good daylight, you're not going to need it. So a 150 to 600 6.3 is perfectly usable, perfectly acceptable in daylight shooting. However, like if you go into a football ground and say they're using you know, lights at nighttime, it's atrocious trying to achieve a fast enough shutter speed, like, you know, a football match or something like that. So you need those 2.8 f4 apertures because they're usable at nighttime, but you can't use an f11, f8, 6.3. It's too dark, you know, and your apertures are going to be ramped up sky high. ISOs are going to be massive. So that's obviously a consideration. I sometimes quite often go into forests and woodlands, and you notice how dark it gets in the woodlands. 2.8 is fine, f4 is fine, but if I try an f8 or a f11 lens, forget about it. You know.
Yeah. No, I just meant like with 35, you can get I don't know what they sell at f3.5 for like next to nothing, and like this super fast 35. I don't get it. There's probably a reason. I'm really curious to know like what, you know. I'm sure it's some L glass and it's super fantastic and sharp, but I'm not. I wouldn't buy one. And but in the case of sport photography, like I used to shoot a lot of baseball, professional baseball, and the f2.8 on the telephoto is great because it isolates the player from all the fans in the stand who are like, you know, very distracting, right? Because you know, you get all that nice bokeh blur and they're all gone, and you could focus on the guy and the ball. It's a way better photograph, right?
Yep. That's why I went dumb and spent some money on that Sigma 120 to 300 2.8 Sport, because what I do, I can't have much prime. Just the prime, I have one location I can stand at, and that's it. I don't get shit that way. I get one jump. That doesn't help me. I needed a zoom, and that was the only one that really provided the reach and the aperture. And again, during daytime, I don't go below 4 or 5.6 most of the time, but as soon as there's a cloud or a little bit of shadow, or we go inside of a riding arena, without a 2.8 aperture, there's nothing I can do. Doesn't matter what camera I slap on that lens, at some point you just can't get enough light.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work.
I over the holidays, I took this exact setup, my 6D and the 35 1.4, and went to shoot a bunch of firefighters at night that wanted some fire in the shot, and so we kind of used the fire as the natural light, and there would be no way that I could get all of them with an established shot with half of the fire engine in the shots on either side, and all of them right in front of it with little 2 fire pits, without something as wide as a 35, and without getting it as fast a shot, without getting the shutter speed to have somebody moving that's blurry. Because if you take a portrait shot that's anything more than like 80th or 125th of a second, you're going to see blur from people moving just naturally. And anything, if I didn't have that lens, the 1.4, I wouldn't even be able to do it. So, you know, for me, that's why I focused on that lens in particular, and for its versatility in video work, as well, because it pairs great with the C100. And when I use ND filters, it allows me to keep my aperture pretty low, so I can just obliterate the background and just blur. So and 2.8 is perfectly reasonable. That's what I'm on right now. I'm at f2.8 on the Sigma 17 to 50, and it's perfectly fine. I would have no issue using this combination on any shoot that I have.
Yeah. But again, if we need to do action shots or something, or anything in the dark, like even Alan said, without much movement, we still need the wide aperture to be able to get everything we need in most occasions. Can a 1.8 do the job of a 1.2 in that setting? Most likely.
Most likely, yeah. It's a little bit of ISO difference in that, you know, but
that won't be really noticeable. But you don't get the bouquet, you don't get the blurred background, you don't get the softness and the isolation of your subject as nicely. Which all of a sudden, once you start zooming in or start trying to sell your prints, all of a sudden a 1.2 compared to 1.8 is a huge difference. And all of a sudden it's like, well, it was $1,000 more, but now I can set my images.
But there's also a big difference in the amount of high quality glass that goes into these.
Yes.
That's a huge difference in the coatings, the treatments of the glass that get handled by Canon, and the look that I get out of this completely obliterates the $125 Yongnuo f2. You know that.
No doubt about it.
Can you see a difference in the amount of background blur between f2 and f1.4? Possibly. Maybe.
If somebody asked you to pay attention to it.
Exactly. If you sit there and studied it and pixel peeped it, yeah, you can maybe tell the difference. But does it matter aesthetically? No. Does it matter about the look that it gives you, the skin tones, the pop, the contrast, and everything throughout the entire range of the image and your corners and everything? Yeah. You know, it's a huge difference in the quality that you're getting at $125 and, you know, $1,000, $2,000 and above. You know, so yeah, that's another reason why, you know, spending. And I just sold a lens just yesterday, and it was just to sell some batteries from an old Rebel that I had, and I ended up selling the guy a nifty 50 because he was like, oh well, I can't. I want to take pictures of dogs, and I just want to get the blurry background. And I was like, well, you're not going to get it with that. And he's like, well, what do you think? And I was like, here, I might have something. So I grabbed him an old, the old Series 2, the Plastic Fantastic. And yeah, I was like, here, get rid of this. Take this thing. And I have like 3. This is my my 50 shelf right up here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 50 millimeter lenses.
Well, the first step is admitting you have a problem. You're already there, so that's great. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you, Alan.
My name is Alan, and I have a lens problem.
Paul, do you want to add something to that?
They're right here. They're right up. They all have caps now, Paul. Let me show you. They are all secure.
You see what I did?
I only took them off for that photo. Jesus.
When he showed that image, right, of all these cameras with no caps on, do you know what I did? Sent him a £10 Amazon voucher to buy some.
Yeah.
I have them. They're over there. I got 6.
I've had difficulty finding a good 50 millimeter lens. So I had the EF 1.4 for a long time, and on the DSLR, it just had terrible focus accuracy. I mean, just the worst of all my lenses. Like, you know, it didn't matter if you microfocused adjusted, it's on and it's off. It was just, and I asked people online, everybody said they had that problem with it. And then there's a 1.8, but it was like a $99 lens. It was a good value for the money, but it wasn't a great lens. And then you could spend, I don't know, $2,000 or something for the 1.2. And
Yeah.
now in RF, there isn't a 1.4 at all. I don't think there's just this. In it, you can have like a
all there is
super
just,
expensive massive
the-
lens.
the
And
50 and the
I don't
1.2.
understand why like the most popular prime length has been a problem for Canon for at least 10 years now. I don't get it. Like they haven't noticed this or something. I don't know what you guys think, so I thought I'd bring it up.
In that gap, what you're talking about, you want to look at the Sigma 50 1.4 because it's only like a few $100s, and it is great. And it does not have the Amazonian Hunter of the 1.4, which is right there. I have that. I love the image, but I hate, like you said, I hate the autofocus. That the Canon doesn't, the Sigma doesn't have the problem that the Canon one does. And you're right. The RF equivalent is only the 1.8 and the 1.2 right now. It is not a range. It seems right now that Canon had been focusing more on zooms in the beginning of the RF transition. Now we see this year they're going to be releasing more primes. Way to go. So I see that as the wider, maybe they're just starting at the lower numbers, starting at the lower end and working their way up. Because I also see that they're going to come out with newer, the 135 came out with a brighter aperture. So maybe for we already have the 85 1.2 in an RF, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. So maybe there's something in between there. Maybe we can do. I'm tired of them making zooms. Of course, everybody's got a 24-70, but that's I would like to see Canon do something out there, like with what Sigma did with the 50 to 100 1.8. Have something that's going to be constant and bright throughout an entire range. That's just perfectly usable for most shooters on any beginner level camera, and that's something that they really need to cater more towards, especially this year, is more towards usability and beginner productivity instead of catering just specifically to the professionals. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but everything that they've been coming out with has been to an upper tier to where only a very few can afford it.
That's been a 1%er lens lineup.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty good name for it. I like that. It's like I was looking at, again, I don't really do primes, but I started to get a little bit more into the, we call it the black background pictures. With the flash, you just pretty much overpower every light in the area and just have your subject and have everything else kind of fall into shadow around it. And I posted a couple of those pictures I did lately on the group as well. And I'm started to look at some primes for those shots, and one of them is that I'm looking at is the Sigma 105 f1.4. And that price is also giving you a little bit of a heart attack when you look at it, because that thing new is close to $1,600. And right now I'm not sure if that's worth my money for those pictures, or if I just continue using my 24-70, which worked pretty well so far. But if I actually want to go a little bit bigger into that niche photography with the black background stuff, then at some point I think I will have to go prime as well. And just for the more compression in those pictures, I would need a little bigger one than a 50. I might get away with an 85, but I'm not looking forward spending that 1% lens money for that. So if I ever have to go that way or want to go that way, I really, really hope I can find a good deal on something used instead of having to buy that new and probably get divorced over it or something again. But
And they don't have that in either.
No, it's okay.
You have to buy that in the EF mount. Is that right?
The 105?
That's
yeah, you can get it in the EF mount. It's not an RF. Nothing Sigma is RF.
I guess the equivalent of that would be something like the 135, which would give you similar compression. And I saw, I think it was Jared Poland's review which was great. And he was so blown away by how pin sharp it was, wide open.
It's an amazing lens.
Yeah, it's an amazing lens. And I know you. If you were going to pounce on something like that, you wouldn't put it with 1DX. So, maybe R3. R6 II. What do you think of that?
No, if I go,
I see that glimmer in your eye.
Oh yeah,
I see that glimmer in your eye.
I talked with Paul the other day, and as soon as Canon allows Sigma to manufacture RF mounts, I will drop the money, and will buy the R3. Possibly at that point already the R1, and go mirrorless as well. Yeah, well, I'm quite sure it will take at least that long for Canon to finally, get off their wannabe high throne.
Did you see Jared Pollan's video talking about RF glass? He did a video.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Insinuating that Canon was sort of changing their minds, or thinking about it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
As soon as they do, I'm going to send my whole Sigma collection in and have them converted to RF. That's for sure.
Is that going to be possible?
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do with my lenses now. If I would buy a Sony, I would convert my lenses to a Sony mount. If I buy a Nikon, I will convert my lenses to a Nikon mount.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
because Sigma's a third-party support for so many manufacturers, what they do is they just request the build protocols. And I guess at a certain level, it comes down to obtaining certain patents for things, and that's what some companies are reticent. Like Canon, they just came out with this great patent for this great new system that works, and here we go. I have to, give you $100. I have to give you $100 to make two. So I could see but Jared Pollan's point was that it really upset a lot of loyal Canon users, and made tons of Canon users switch over to other systems, or specifically say that they weren't going to upgrade to RF glass, which was a huge backlash, and I don't think that they were expecting that.
I'm one of them. I'm not buying RF glass until I can use all my glass on them. And get it converted.
Conversely, I think that also the price point has a lot to do with that too. That was a lot of it too, is that they're not letting anyone else produce quality RF glass to compete with the prices. So you're just stuck with what Canon has, so they can monopolize it, jack the price up. So, it's not necessarily the greatest business tactic. But if you learn, I don't know if anybody else watches another channel called Camera Conspiracies, and in which it's found out that actually the entire Big Five are all owned by the exact same assets holding group.
Really?
Ooh. And when I mean the Big Five, I mean Canon, Sony, Nikon, Fuji, Panasonic, and OM. So that's 6. Yep. Sorry, I can't count.
Well, Sony acquired Minolta and just basically changed the name to Sony.
Oh right, yeah. Because there was Sony was not in the DSLR game.
No.
Yeah, because everybody's like, oh, these new Canon came out with these new mirrorless. I'm like, dude, Sony's been making mirrorless cameras since back in 2010.
Nope.
They didn't make DSLRs.
No.
And, it's just, arguments are funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But there was a patent for the 200 to 600 f5.6 EF lens 5 years ago. They patented that, and they never made it because everyone thought Canon's going to do something to compete with Sigma and Tamron, and they never did. And there's rumors of a 200 to 500 f4 1.4x converter built in, which is going to be sort of there, but you can bet your dollars that will be a very pricey lens.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a plastic fantastic lens. it's going to be an L lens, so it's going to cost an arm and a leg to buy. You know.
But we're used to that, right?
Yeah.
Well, you buy Sigma.
Yeah, but they're not that much cheaper.
Well, it depends what you're looking at, I suppose.
That's like the difference between buying a Benz and buying a Beamer.
Yeah.
They're both going to be expensive. One's a little bit more than the other. Which one do you like?
Yeah.
I like the one that's about $300 less.
Yeah. But again, I hope that Canon really relaxes a bit on their grip on the RF patent and mount, because I will happily go mirrorless. I would like to, but right now I'm just like, screw that. It's bullshit. Either you make it available for all, that I can continue using the glass I already have without a damn adapter every damn time, or I stay DSLR and you can go use your mirrorless, as a paperweight. I don't care.
Well, I mean, I got into the art system knowing that I'd adapt all my lenses, so I just have one adapter and it stays on the camera all the time, and it's been working great.
Yeah.
Even that stupid 50mm 1.4 finally focuses for me.
Well, that's good.
I still
That's
hate
good.
it, but all the I mean, you can see it just looks. It's a little longer, but it's very stable, right? And there's nothing optical in that adapter, so it just works. So
at least there's that.
And what are you shooting on there, Marshall?
What
camera
what
are you
lens
shooting
is this?
on? No, what camera?
Oh, this is an R5.
The R5, okay.
Because the concerts, I wanted really good low light and speed and all that. And the other thing I love is the aperture ring, or at least for me, it's an aperture ring, because I like to control everything.
Okay.
And remembering that aperture is around the lens in the same place is really great for me, right? So I can shutter it's here and aperture's there and ISO's there, and so I can control all that, because in concerts, right, you have really bad lighting. It can be, we all talked about how shooting in the dark is hard, and in a concert it's really hard. So,
I bet.
I try to be. You have to really balance it. Where's my shutter, and do I want to have 2 or 3 band members and focus only one? And if I'm shooting the drummer, I slow the shutter to get the blur of the sticks, and then I have to set it back again for everybody else because they're running all over the place. So it's really good to do all that, and you're in the dark, by the way, so you kind of have to do everything on your against your face and by hand.
Yep.
So that for me has been like a big help. I like the system a lot. It's besides battery life and the fact that menus have really grown in complexity without. They haven't done it besides the controls, the tactile controls being a little better. The menus and configuration is a bit more difficult, right? Like here's 20 autofocus features. Oh, and we have all the other autofocus settings from before, remember? So it even for somebody, I was very experienced with the 5D Mark IV and the 7D Mark II before that, and all those controls are still there, plus a bunch of new ones. So that part is quite difficult. I
can somewhat relate. I don't have mirrorless, yes, but when I jumped from the 7D Mark II to the 1DX Mark II, that menu scared the living heck out of me at first, because I'm like, good Lord, if I change something here, I'll never find it again and be able to reverse it without resetting the camera. It took me quite a while to get more comfortable with that and realize that I don't need the majority of the settings anyway due to what I'm shooting. So that helped a lot, but I can relate. And now you said the mirrorless adds even more. Damn, we need
all the eye detect, and what kind of do you want animal eye detect, or do you want person face eye detect, and on and on and on. Yeah.
Just wait until you open
still
up
all the case mode.
Just wait until you start opening up the menu on a cinema camera. Oh,
I bet.
Well, I mean, fortunately, like with that 5C camera, they have it so that when you turn it on video mode, it's one set of menus.
Yeah.
And if you turn it on stills mode, it's another set. I think is the most brilliant thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of its neat features.
Because it's on the R5, it's really hard to know, like, okay, is this setting going to change my video or my stills or what?
Well, not only that, but you
for-
lose features when you go to certain settings in video mode on the R5. This has been gone in depth on other reviews that I've seen, and one of the reasons why I haven't jumped on it is because a lot of those spectacular autofocus features only work in certain frame rates or certain with or without certain crops and things like that for video work. And then the R5C does solve some of those problems. Whereas if you were really focusing on video that much and needed to solve those problems, I would just get the C70 and be done with it, because you're still on an RF mount. But that being said, Canon has announced a few new cinema cameras coming this year. What do you think about that, Paul?
I've not really looked into that. So, would you like to educate everyone here?
Oh, you're gonna make me look at my phone because I had everything bookmarked, and then I went and started looking up different stuff.
Video is too hard for me because getting one good shot really hard. Getting 30 good shots a second for like 10 minutes is like inconceivable for me. So I like videographers are like a whole other level on the altered versions. I can't even touch that stuff.
Well, thank you. No, I find that I'm using right now. I'm using a base level C100 Mark I with dual pixel autofocus on it, and it's just this tiny. I want to say it's probably that big, tiny little box. It's either this big or that big, and but as long as that subject is within it, it still stays in focus, unless you're in manual focus. Yeah. But with all the new updates that Canon has for their cinema series, their C series, all of them have great autofocus, especially from the C200 and up. C300 Mark II and Mark III are really, really popular in a lot of indie filmmakers, as well as the C500 and the C500 Mark II, which is going to be coming this year, has some outrageous video specs. And yeah, I might be looking at one of those for mortgaging my car for $14,000. But it shoots 4K, 120 frames per second without a crop. And
Nice.
that's with autofocus working. Like, that's nice. That's super magic.
Nice.
That's the magic that anybody who has basic photography skills could pick up one of these cameras and make stunning footage. Granted, it costs that arm and a leg, but you also get Canon colors, and I think it'll come with I think they're going to coming out with a new Canon Log 4, a new Canon Gamma, and I think 12 or 14 stops of dynamic range. It's going to be a good year. We're going to see a lot from Canon this year, I think. Just starting off with these primes are going to be the beginning, because they already said the R8 is coming, and we're probably likely getting the R5 too. So yeah.
I convinced my company at the time to invest substantial money into 4K technologies, even when television makers were not so sure they would need it or want it. And that turned out to be great, because we got to a point where every TV panel 55-inch and above was 4K. Like the panel makers stopped making panels bigger than that. So we were ahead of the analyst thing, and it positioned us really well.
That's cool.
In 2017, started investing in 8K technology, but
Okay.
I'm not seeing video, but I'm still very hopeful for the potential of 8K, because if you like sports, and you imagine the day when you have a television that's 2 meters tall on a wall of your house, it would look absolutely amazing, like watching a hockey game, soccer, football with 8K resolution. So I don't know when it will come, but it would be great to see that day.
I mean, 8K is already surprisingly common in Japan and has been for several years. It's just that the rest of the world is like, we're going to hold off a little longer, but pretty much anything you buy in Japan these days is an 8K screen.
Yeah,
It's
but
for them, 8K is the standard. They don't go below 8K.
Yeah, but I don't. What the end game, I think, is like when we have OLEDs that can roll up, and you go to the store and it's in a tube, and you unroll it against the wall, right,
Yep.
and it covers a whole wall, and that hockey game is so clear and crisp that like when those guys hit the glass, it's like they're right in front of you.
Wasn't it LG that sells like the $20-something thousand roll up screen already? That's a kind of designed for super yachts. It actually rolls up. It is a rolling screen. I have not seen any resolution of it, but I know they do have a rolling screen out there that literally comes out of a tiny little box like this big, and it just comes up.
OLED makes it
and
possible,
turns on.
and micro LED is close because you can put panels together.
Yeah.
All right. I think Canon are also working on some new telephoto lenses as well, like a 200 to 400 f4, which already exists in the EF world, and a 500 f4 because they've not released that, and that's being one of the main lenses that a lot of wildlife photographers gravitate to. But apart from that, there's nothing really new in terms of lenses. Certainly not RFS lenses. We've only got 2 lenses for the RF mount for RFS at the moment, which is a bit odd because you would have thought if they're going to bang out all these APS-C cameras, you'd want more lenses surely to go with those.
Didn't they just push out the RFS 11 to 22 STM lens?
Well, they have to have one.
Yeah.
That's an essential.
Which the EFS version of that was a great lens.
Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, I see it here.
There it is.
And I think that we determined that was actually an older EFM lens that was going to be rebranded.
Pretty much.
But it's still a fantastic lens, even in the EFS configuration.
Yeah, I remember they did have another lens, which I think it was a 15 to 45.
15 to 45. Yeah, I think that's the kit lens, right?
That was a kit lens.
Is that the one that came? Yeah. Did you get that in the R7?
No, the M50, wasn't it?
The M50. Okay.
And to be honest with you, it was rubbish. Absolutely rubbish and appalling. I had it myself, actually. I had the M50 myself. And that was the first lens I tried to get rid of because it was awful. I ended up getting the 22 prime, actually, because it was far sharper and far better. But yeah, that 15 to 45 was terrible. And, basically no one used it ever because they found out it was atrocious. It wasn't sharp in the corners. The apertures weren't great. It was terrible. So that's a lens that came with the camera as a kit, but no one really wanted it because they didn't like it. It's one of those odd things that Canon does. It makes a lens for the camera. Its kit it comes together as a package, and yet the lens is just rubbish. It's really unusual. Canon don't tend to do that. The 18 to 55 EFS lens,
because then they can sell this for far more.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that in it.
Because it doesn't have a red ring.
But then it's like, what, 5 times the price?
Yeah.
That's
but
why
again, it's also the quality, because I think Canon's own admission that the Nifty 50, the optics in it aren't even glass. It's mostly all plastic and some other elements that are in it. There's no actual glass inside of it.
Makes sense. I mean, that's how you can make them that cheap.
Yeah. So, how well do you think it's going to look?
Well, Canon's philosophy has always been the APS-C market isn't there as a standalone camera setup. It's basically to get you onto full frame. That's essentially how they see APS-C.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So obviously this is going to apply the same philosophy with their lenses, aren't they? You know.
Yeah.
Is Marshall back? So,
Sorry.
Ah, there he is again.
Hey, it wasn't me this time.
No, it was Comcast this time.
Yet, Alan, yet.
Yet.
It wasn't you.
It
yet.
wasn't me first this time.
Okay, I take that. I'll give you that. Oh, so you were late, so there's still that.
So we've not heard a lot from Blake, have we?
No, we haven't. Been listening. a little shy at first, you know.
Yeah, well, everyone's new, and it takes a while to get accustomed to this thing, you know.
I don't know what I'm doing, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. But now it's all you, so we're all staring at you.
Oh my god, what do I say? Here's a camera. Hold on.
Oh, if I remember correctly, Blake, you said something about you do portraiture. Is that right?
I do what?
Portraiture.
Yeah, I just started doing portraiture, and then I also do maternity shoots. I do anything involving families and pets and stuff like that. So,
Damn.
yeah.
Maternity.
I use a 5D Mark IV though, and this is my Sigma 70 to 200 2.8 that I love.
Nice.
And this is my little go-to. I ride my bicycle all the time, and I have a backpack that I carry this in. So This is my go-to.
There's actually
Hey, brother, Sigma for the win, you know, 24 to 70.
There's a YouTuber actually I watch sometimes called I think
It's not white. It's not
Sigma 60 to 600 Sport.
cycling.
Yeah.
I think it's called a cycling photographer, and he goes around with big wildlife lenses and
okay, cool.
on his bike, going to local parks and what have you. And you know, it's quite interesting to see people get out and about. You know, there's too many lazy people in the world, as you probably know.
Hey, I don't go out. I sit on my horse and make them work. I just sit there.
Well, at least you go out.
Smart.
I ask
know.
people to go for bike rides, and then they go for a bike ride with me, and then they never want to go for another bike ride with me.
It's because you're riding a bike in Houston.
Well,
Without a motor on it.
Yeah, no
Right.
motor, no electricity. Like, no, let's pedal this out.
it's not an e-bike. Then.
No thanks.
There's no
End up in the third ward.
Yeah, what is this? It's like I'm back in Afghanistan.
I live in the valley.
Okay, I used to work down the valley. I mean, I did oil and gas for 10 years, so I've worked quite a bit down there.
Oh, sorry.
It wasn't that bad, you know? It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it's worse.
It's definitely worse than Houston. I'll give it that.
So, have you guys got your bags to hand by any chance?
It's right there.
Have our what?
Bags, camera bags.
I'll be right back.
I thought it'd be interesting.
Like this?
Yeah.
I brought the little one. So
Yeah, I have my little one that I just carry my camera on my bike.
Yep.
My big one's in a different room.
Well,
A big one is on the other side of my screen, but if I try to lift that up, I might likely have to call 911.
see, I've got this JJC circular bag. Thought it's quite useful to get my 800
That's nice.
f11 lens, which I don't use that often.
The disadvantage of marriage.
But they're not very expensive, these little bags you can get.
Oh, no.
How much was it?
Despite what people think, though, you can't get a 300 2.8 in this bag.
I believe it.
If you go on the various Amazon pages and reviews, people, as well as the actual manufacturer, claim you can get it in there. You might be able to get it in there if you put your camera lens in a plastic bag and squeeze it in as tight as possible, and then
That's
pulling
what she
it
said.
out is almost impossible.
Yeah, without pretty much having a camera back prolapse issue where the inside turns outside.
Well, yeah, because the lens has got rubber around it and rubber.
You're
grip.
welcome, Alan. It was just for you.
I missed you, Dan.
I figured you would.
So, Alan, have you got your bag there by any chance?
Anything with pro
The
life.
bag.
Nice.
Yeah, I do have my bag here. Yes, I have the Best Buy Platinum Series bag that you can get at any Best Buy store right off the shelf.
That looks nice.
You know what? I was surprised because the first bag that I had was just a side bag that I got at a thrift store for like $3. It started falling apart, so I was like, you know what? I need something sturdy and something that I can carry. And then that was when I only had 2 camera bodies, and then I was like, I need something sturdy, and I like it that it's got this padded bottom right here with this huge. I used to keep the drone in here when I did do drones. I don't like.
Wow.
Don't do drones. And yeah, this is where I used to keep the drone, and there's a Skittle in there. Because I have kids. Yeah. So I overall like it, and it's got this this front compartment with lots of space in there, and it's actually got more dividers. One of them's over there, plus all these little pockets over here for memory cards and other storage. I use mine right there for keeping AirTag in there. You know,
That's always good.
Yeah, and then it's got a separate compartment up top where I use a 2 levels. It's where I put like my flash and shutter release, cleaning cloths, a little blower, and then another under here. Plus, there's like another storage right here on the top. On the outside, it's got 2 pockets. This one is for spare batteries. It's literally like extra memory cards, and then the other side actually goes back to the inside if you were needed to grab something right out here from the side really quickly. And then I'm going to cheat and do double duty because I also have a low pro side bag that I really love. When I don't feel like carrying more than one body, I just take this one and a couple of lenses, and this will take everything I need. And I really love this one, the old orange Insider. With this, you can carry. I've taken my 70 to 200 with it, and a body, and a couple other lenses, and a microphone, and it still will work. Carry it around all day long if you need to. And yeah, this one's great. Dual strap and built really well, and I think it's waterproof as well.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
always a big deal.
Yeah.
I carry a shoulder bag around. It's branded as Golf. It's very old because I had to put some new latches on it. But I tend to just keep a few smaller lenses in that. And it's, it does its job, and I've had it for many, many years, actually. It's a lot better than some of the modern stuff I've seen in shops lately, and it's, it does its job. But for my main bag, I use something called Case Logic, which is this. It's rubberized at the bottom, so it's completely waterproof, so I can stand it on water and not worry about anything. And I managed to fit my 300 2.8 there. I've got my my 7D, sorry, my R7. And I also put my R6 in there, as well as I've got my 100 to 500 RF lens in its little bag that it comes with there. It's because I wanted something really compact. Yes, you can go for the low pros that are really expensive, about $250 or pounds, but they're massive things, Yeah. And sometimes you want to go small, lightweight.
Yeah, I have a think tank that's massive.
The problem is you can't go in an aircraft with one of those as carry on because they're too big, and they'll say you can't have it on. You have to go into luggage. But do you really want to risk your expensive lenses in the luggage compartment? Don't forget, it's not just possible things moving and hitting your bags. There's the pressure to think about, isn't there?
Definitely.
So
Yeah, if you were worried about that much and you were flying that much with so much expensive equipment, I would just resort to getting Pelicans.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So this bag's
Because if you're flying that much, you can definitely afford it.
Yeah, and they can chunk those things around.
Yeah.
So I've flown a lot with this bag. So this is a 10-year-old
Yeah.
low pro, and so I used to fly on business like a lot, like all around the world, many times a year. So I would bring this. So I travel pretty heavy because I'd have this whole bag that would have the f2.8 zooms, all three of the the 1635 and the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200 a lot of times, and a body and a strobe. Because I'd go to all over Europe and Asia and stuff. So I'd always try to throw in a weekend and get some photography done. And then when I would start doing concerts, I'd pack it a little thinner. But what's cool about this is it opens on the strap side. And so some people don't get why that is, but it's very secure this way, right? Because if you're walking, somewhere in a city or wherever with this on your back, nobody can unzip. They can't unzip it from the back and grab your stuff, right? Because it's on your back. And it's super nondescript and just indestructible. I mean, I like 10 years, and this has been, on almost every continent except Antarctica. And, I'd go to outdoor concerts and have this zipped up and be sitting in dirt for 2 hours with people kicking their feet around it and stuff while I'm shooting. And it's just as perfect as it was new. And it's got, the rain flaps. So if it starts pouring down, I can make it waterproof. And it's just been great. So that's, and it can hold a tripod on the outside if it's a small enough one, like the carbon fiber thing that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Low Pro just totally rocks with bags.
I have to completely agree with you, and that's because I also Low Pro it around the world with two of them. I have the Pro Tracker 450 AW2. Which is water resistant, and that also has a fold out water cover to make it pretty much waterproof. Yeah, I can't go diving with it, but that's okay for me. Just like Marshall's, it has an extra pouch out front with a fold out part where you can put your tripod in nice and secure, tie it down so it doesn't bounce around when you're walking and doing stuff. Has two really nice large side pockets. One of them comes with a opening for a water system, hydration system, which is great if you're outside 110-degree weather at a horse show all day. You have your water or Gatorade or something in there, It's not really insulated, but it still stays surprisingly drinkable without burning your mouth after an hour or 2 or 10 in the sunlight. Another pocket on the other side, which I usually use for a charger and some spare batteries, has some extra storage in here for memory cards as well. I don't know if it has so many memory cards that you need that storage out there. Plus the storage you get on the inside for memory cards and all other stuff. Just for Alan, because if I ever meet him, I always carry spare body parts around, so just that he can cover his sensors up safely. It comes with a really nice little pouch like this, which is where I actually have some spare batteries in because it's easy to grab and have with you. And it's also water resistant, so kind of nice for batteries. This one, the 450, is actually big enough for my flash, my 600 RX flash, the body, the 60 to 600 Sigma, the 120 to 300 Sigma, and my 24 to 70 with all their lens hoods, batteries, spare parts. I usually don't use tripods at all. I just bring a heavy-duty monopod, especially for the 120 to 300, because otherwise I need to call, I don't know, the Hulk to help me carry that thing around. But the 450, as big as that thing might be, and as much as it can hold, it actually is airline approved size-wise. I speak from experience. Yeah. It does fit in the overhead compartments, and I never had to check it, which is very nice. No. And then I have the exact same one, the baby version, which I bring around when I don't need the 120 to 300, and then I just have my body in there, this way, the 60 to 600, the 24 to 70, the lens hoods, spare batteries, memory cards, that sort of stuff. And the thing is adjustable for everything, like professional trekking backpacks. So you can really tie it to your back. It doesn't bounce around at all. It has a removable belly strap as well, which is significantly padded, which for what I do, I don't need the belly strap all that much, so I usually take it off. But it easily velcros back to the back if I ever would need it, so I can easily put it back. It has a removable top pouch as well, where I used to have filters in. I haven't used filters since, I don't know, General Custer was in service or something. But it attaches to the top with 4 straps, and it's also water resistant. I usually use that for cell phone, wallet, phones, snacks, because I'm a really skinny guy, I need snacks. And the whole thing is it's very comfortable. It has a lot of really nice, thick, soft padding on the back with some ventilation straps in it. And again, everything is adjustable. It can fit anybody. And it's just a very comfortable backpack. I started with just having the big 450, which is a big ass bag. So it got a little too big, and I looked around and I found that it has a little brother, the 300. And so I went online, found that at a camera store on eBay. Not sure if we're allowed to say names here. And bought it there for $80 used, and it arrived in its original box. And I don't think it has been used more than being pulled out, said nope, and pushed back in. So I got really lucky with that. I bought it for a fraction of the price, which is nice because, like we said earlier, Low Pro is usually not known for the cost-effective option. But every time you do spend on them, in my opinion, is very well spent because they really do put a lot of thought, effort, and research in the making of the different bags.
Yeah. I've got a question. Where's the parachute?
The parachute, it's usually not with me because I'm not jumping out of my airplane. You know, the captain goes down with the boat. Yeah, I go down with the aircraft.
If it were me, I'd be saying, get out of the way, I'm jumping.
Right?
Go ahead, you can get the parachute, you jump out, I'll try to land that thing. Not jumping out, not gonna happen. I'd rather fly it in the side of a mountain. Nope. Nope. That's not gonna happen. But size-wise, a parachute would fit in the 400. I just don't know how well it would actually come out. So.
Right. Let's see. Blake, did you have a bag? Or have you shown it already?
I've got this little backpack that I carry with me right now. My think tank is in the other room. I don't really want to go grab it. I got all my kids locked out of this room right now. So.
Yeah, there are good quality bags out there. I did actually research bags, and I came to the same conclusion that Dan's come to, really, that those Low Pro ones are really good quality. Yeah, there are alternatives, but there's not much difference in price if you look at the pricing.
And honestly, when you think that I'm putting an easy 10, 11 grand in a backpack, do I want the $50 version or do I rather have the $350 version? You know, it's like putting a filter on your L lens, like the 500 f4 IS, whatever. You're not putting a $25 filter on that thing. At that point, you can also just go home.
Yeah,
it's so I hunt a bargain. I shoot Sigma, so I'm definitely like a bargain. But sometimes it is, you get what you pay. And I like my camera.
I like the solid black because it doesn't scream $1,000 of camera inside.
Exactly.
Yes, well, as Dan can attest to, you got robbed, didn't you?
Just a little bit.
Oh, no.
Sorry to remind you about it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I used to have more gear. But luckily the insurance replaced most of it.
Was it an armed robbery?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It was in my truck. and then it was not in my truck.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, apparently, we're smart enough at some point to mark that little X on the contract cover, personal belongings inside. So we're lucky on that one.
Because this lens comes with, well, normally would come with, although I didn't get one, comes with the original Canon hard case. They're at 500 quid to buy on their own. And they do protect your lens a lot. The problem is they're not that practical to carry around forests and what have you.
No.
So, that's why, I don't tend to use something like that. It's just, also it screams big lens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the lens hood or that's the whole lens?
That's the lens hood, and the lens is actually about that long. But you want a big lens hood to protect it.
No, I
just set it down, Like the 500 f4s are like that big.
It looks like a damn bazooka already.
Well, that's a 2.8 lens.
Yeah.
The glass element.
Jesus, that's huge.
In fact, if I take this off, you'll see. That's the element.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because basically the f4 500, which is longer than the 300, basically the element is about the same size, but obviously it's a bigger lens. And all wildlife photographers gravitate to the 500 and 600 lenses because of the aperture, because of the clarity, the sharpness, and that's why they carry them around. But obviously not everyone's got 13 grand to throw at a lens, have they? Even this.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could?
Even this cost me $3,000.
Yeah.
It's and that was spending a year paying it off.
Pay Paul credit.
So I picked up this over Christmas. It's the 600 f11, and I didn't intend to buy it, but it was on sale for $400. I haven't used it yet, but probably the next time we go whale watching, with a whale boat or something that's really far away in a lot of bright sunshine, I'll give it a shot. Because before I was using, I think the 70-200 with a 1.4x tele, and I still couldn't fill the frame.
That's 800 f11. I did have the 600 f11. I traded it in actually for the R7.
That's right.
You can always put the R7 on the 300 and get to 480, and that's at 2.8. I had the Sigma 150-600.
I got a good deal on it.
And these f11 lenses, they're as sharp as the Sigma 150-600s, really. It's a lot lighter, granted, but I think it's more useful having a zoom sometimes. But I know Alan's going to be saying prime.
Yeah, we just ignore him.
When his battery's working nice.
Well, I got two new strobes recently I'd like to talk about. I got some Godox AD 600Bs, which I was using earlier until it went out, and these have been real useful for a home studio.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
I've got one of those and an older MS 300 Pro that's still working. It's like 8 years old, and it still works like the day it was. And they pair really nice to the. I have the TT 600 and the off camera, and I love the Godox flash. I also have the transmitter and a wireless flash trigger, and they all work almost every time. I love it.
Yeah. My off-camera setup is I went with the Alien B a couple of years ago, and I got the AB 1600 for my main off-camera flash, and then for background lighting, I also lug around a AB 400, just to add a little bit of light behind the subject, sometimes for a cool outline.
Well, sometimes you don't need to get a faster lens. Sometimes a bit of lighting can help.
Yeah.
Lighting goes a long way.
Oh yeah. Even just my little 600 on camera, the 600 RX or EX, blah blah blah, 2, That thing alone has saved so many shots. It's amazing what a little flash can do these days.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean,
I got something based on what Alan said actually, and I'll show you it.
Ring light.
Ring light.
all right, now we need this. This trend.
I've got a ring light in my Facebook
never seen
profile
one.
picture.
Nice.
$6 eBay.
Nice.
Because I've got a Godex DE300. I've got two of them actually, but the bulb goes off after about an hour because it overheats, obviously. So I thought, get something that I can just USB and attach, and
Yep.
Nice.
They really do work good.
Yeah.
Yep. Get really nice reflections in eyes too when you use the ring lights. It's actually really cool.
Yeah, and then of course, where is it? This one's like a toy one, so I can do like different colors. Let's see where. Ooh, let's go green. Oh, the window's going to overpower it, but it's too. It's too. It's not bright enough. Can we make it brighter? No. What's that?
Well, if you want to do different colors,
It's not bright enough. Oh, so I wanted to bring up something that we could do, maybe like a little segment here on the live stream about something you picked up, like a good bargain pickup that you made recently this month. And although mine does not necessarily count as a camera or camera gear, it does, especially for what I do majority of, like video editing and stuff like that, which is actually the headphones that I am wearing that I scored at a Goodwill. I don't know if you can see this. These are
Sennheisers.
They're Sennheiser.
It's a good brand.
380 Pros that I got for I got them for $4. Yeah,
nice.
$4. $4. $1, $2, $3, $4.
When did you roll that off?
They're like $200
and I looked at them.
He took out Dan's car.
Yeah, I looked at as soon as I saw the Sennheiser logo, I was like, that looks like a Sennheiser logo. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, these are good. And the what is it? The foam that was on the original ones was so beat up, it was just falling apart. I spent $26 on a new foam here and right here, and it's like they're brand new.
Epic.
And it just sounds so good. It's so clear. I looked them up. They were like, it's still, they don't make this series anymore. It's a more updated series, but you can still get these for, I don't think I saw anything less than like $125. Which I think new, they were like almost $500.
Damn.
Yeah.
And you paid $4 for the things and $25 for the
$4.
foam.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm all in it for $30. Total.
Epic.
Yeah.
I've got something quite interesting actually, and they only cost about £2. Basically, it's a cold mount that you can put on your hot shoe, and
oh yes,
it allows you to attach anything on. So I've got like a Sanyo camcorder that I sometimes put on, where I can film what I'm photographing at the same time as videoing it or filming it on the camera. And these are really invaluable because I can put this on there and have like a ring light.
I was gonna mention that actually.
So they're really handy. I also picked up this, and this was really hard to get hold of to figure out what I could do. Basically, it's an LED light, but that's not what's great about this. What's great about it is that LPE6 light.
Nice.
Right, all the ones I could find was Sony. I couldn't find a single one that allowed you to put a Canon battery on. So
that's the big selling point that I got for my monitor. Here, let me show you. It's right here on the shelf. When a lot of people start looking for a monitor off camera, I like to suggest this company that I found. I'm sure pretty much everybody's familiar with it. It's what is it? Field World. Okay, and this is a 5-inch monitor. It's got full-size HDMI, and it actually takes Sony NPF batteries, which is what Paul was referring to, but it also takes both LPE6 Canon and NPE style batteries. So you can do both. Yeah. Normally, this is the root of my problem when I had this hooked up to the camera, and I had my HDMI's out through here, and the battery would die, causing it to turn off. And I lost a screw to one of the mounting points here. Oh. And I've got to find another one, which is why I haven't been using it too much, because it puts a lot of strain on the HDMI port, and I don't have another D-tap to just power it through the battery, so I haven't really been using this one much. But I do suggest, like, if you were in the market for one and you wanted to stay, that is a big problem that a lot of people have, is a lot of these accessories and things like that that all these companies are coming out with are all a different battery ecosystem than what these diehard Canon users have. And like, these diehard Canon people aren't going to be carrying around Sony batteries just to power your one thing. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. I'd like to see like some kind of adapter or like a product system that integrates, dual technology like this. Like, you can use either one or whatever you want.
This is an adapter for the Canon one, but it will adapt and use the Sony one.
Okay.
I think it's the brand Newer. It's probably well known for doing these sort of things, but I couldn't find any other brands doing this. It was a nightmare trying to find one in the first place. There's only one brand that I could find that did it.
That's cool. I like that.
I got a funny story about when I first got my 5D Mark IV and I wanted to get some extra batteries for it. I got some LPE6N batteries, not LP6 or whatever it is. And I think that was for their mirrorless cameras. I'm not sure. But I bought 3 of the wrong batteries, and they're still sitting in the house.
That hurts.
Yeah.
So LPE6 is the first generation of batteries that came out. Then they came out with LPE6N, which is slightly more powerful, and the present ones are LPE6NH for extra capacity. Those are what Canon recommend for the mirrorless cameras because there's more power in them. But they're all backwards compatible. So basically, all those LPE6 batteries you've got will work in all your Canon cameras, excluding the R3. That's the only one that won't work.
1DX.
The DX is it won't work as well. Yeah.
But, and there's actually like 2 different ones of those 2.
There is another one.
Yeah, this is what we do in the 1DX.
Yeah. They're huge. They last forever though.
It's the LPE19.
And then like in the 1D series, 1DS series, the Studio series. We have longer batteries that are this big, that have these contacts. This charger is a pain in the ass, and it's $100 and something for this charger, for this Canon charger.
Yeah.
Oh, I can relate to that.
I got the mirrorless.
For the first 2 years I had this camera, I charged it with a modified battery, car battery charger that I would just hook up the leads to the battery and hook it straight up from a Walmart battery charger. Yeah, nice. Instead of using the actual Canon one.
Yeah, since I bought the mirrorless camera, I think I have like 6 batteries now. Because with DSLR, I'd always go out and I'd bring one extra. I was always good for one extra battery. Like I could literally shoot like all day, and then I learned to keep the frame rate up. It should never go below half, and I could still shoot all day with the 2 batteries, like a solid day. But the mirrorless, man, you just need like 2 or 3 batteries with you all the time, and keeping them all, making sure they're all charged and knowing which one's charged and which one's flat. It's a pain in the neck, but like,
Yeah.
at least that's the one downside to mirrorless.
Yeah. Well, what
Definitely.
I did is I bought 6 U chargers for the LPE6, like a power bank type thing in my other room, and I bought about 20 LPE6 batteries, like used off eBay and what have you. So I had the capability of charging like 6 batteries in 1 hour.
Hey guys, sorry to cut you off, Paul. I've got to go.
Right.
All right. They're dropping off my son a little early today. So it was a great pleasure joining you guys. Okay.
So now you're saying you're getting your son instead of having your camera die. So you're just, you're watching the battery. Yeah.
No, it's been an hour and a half. It hasn't died.
Yeah.
That's about how long it lasted last time.
Yeah. No, he hasn't been feeling well. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's probably why. But
I hope you'll be okay.
Yeah, everything's good. But
good.
We'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Nice to meet the rest of you. Dan,
take care, Alan.
Paul.
Good to see you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. So it might be a good time to go through some of the questions we've got off the Facebook group.
All right.
What I like to do is run through some of the questions that people have posted and we get everyone's take on what's been said. So, James Pelham purchased a EF 70-200 f4, considering a 1.4 Mark II extender any good? Anyone
I think I replied to that comment or question on the group actually, and
you probably
the combination is good, it works, but the loss in f-stop and image quality is definitely significant.
I've used the 1.4s, including the Mark 1s, Mark 2s, and I own the Mark 3 now. When it comes to the 1.4s, I don't see virtually hardly any image drop in terms of image quality. It's only when you put the 2 times on where you see.
Yeah, then it's, I mean, you can blindfold, you can feel it, you don't have to see it.
The Mark 3 is, it's at another level compared to the Mark 2s and the Mark 1s with the 2X. But the 1.4s, I never had a problem with that at all, because I used to have the 300 f4 lens and I put that on there pretty much all the time and I didn't see much of any sort of image loss quality, because you're only losing 1 stop of light. It's not huge. Yeah. But when it comes to 2 stops and there's a lot more glass elements in the extender, I saw that a big difference, because basically the difference, if anyone's wondering, between the Mark 1's 1.4 extenders and the Mark 2's is weather sealing. That's your main difference. So your Mark 1's doesn't have weather sealing. Your Mark 2's does. And then obviously your Mark 3's has extra coatings and improved optics. So whenever possible, buy the Mark 3's, even the 1.4's. When I compared the Mark 1 and Mark 2 extenders, when it comes to the 1.4, I saw hardly, if any, difference. But the 2X's, there is a difference. And obviously, the Mark 3 2X is significantly better than the Mark 1s and 2s. That's what I found out when I tested the differences, because I'm a bit of an extender nut, you could say. What about you guys? What do you think?
I've never had an extender on my camera, so I can't really give y'all any information on this.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
So I picked it on my 70-200.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes it, a 360 or 340, I forget. But when you need more focal length, it is better. And I'm pretty sure the quality is better than cropping, right? So with a 5D Mark IV or an R5, you have a lot of pixels you can crop in on. But there, when you look very critically, you can see, okay, it's a softer image. But then again, like this lens, I mean, the 70-200 is like incredibly good lens. It's definitely my best lens. The image quality is so good. So you you have a lot of headroom there between the pixels and the quality that you're starting with. And so yes, it's better than shooting at 200 millimeters and cropping later, even with a very high megapixel sensor, but it's not as good. You can see, some loss of quality.
There's some softness. There's some definitely a little loss in contrast. The colors are not quite as vivid.
I noticed that because Tony Northrup did a video once comparing the 70-200 with a 2x versus the 100-400 Mark II. I did the very same test myself, actually. And yeah, there is a hit on contrast when it comes to the extenders versus a lens, in itself. That is the equivalent, same focal length. 400 millimeters versus 400 millimeters. And I always thought the 100-400 Mark II that I was using was a tad bit sharper and significantly better contrast. That was the main difference I was seeing in that combination, So whenever possible, it's probably best not to use an extender if you can help it. Another option of getting an extender is put an APS-C camera on. That's another way of doing it. So to give you an example, this is the 300 2.8 I mentioned. If I put my R7 on there, I'm at 480 millimeters. Gives me extra reach, not far off a 500 prime. And that's essentially gives the same effect. But people do get annoyed when you say you're getting increased focal length when you put an APS-C camera on an L lens, because they get confused with the terminology or it upsets them. So basically what we have to do is use what Sigma say. Now, Sigma say you get an increased effective focal length. That's the term Sigma use. Not my term, it's what Sigma say. So that's what I go with, basically, whenever I compare APS-C onto full-frame lenses. You say you get an effective increase in focal length. Basically, you're changing your angle of view from being a little bit wider to a little bit narrower. And you get more focal range or focal length. It depends how you want to term it. When you use an APS-C. So the question sometimes is, do you want to use an extender or do you want to use an APS-C camera to get greater focal length? And it's up to you to make that decision.
But, I got this for $200 and it weighs like nothing. So there's a lot to be said for, okay, it's not, or buying a camera body, another $2,000 lens.
Yeah. To be fair, this R7 weighs nothing virtually.
Well, yeah, okay.
It's light, really light. I'd say the extender is probably all right, maybe a bit lighter than this, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But normally I'd have a battery grip on, but unfortunately Canon's decided we're not going to bring out a battery grip for the R7, which is a bit annoying.
It's one of the reasons I'll never buy one.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, really. I thought I can live without it, don't get me wrong, but
I cannot. They are too big. I cannot.
My hands are quite small, so I guess.
I wear glove size 11 to 12.
So
I need a fucking battery grip on a normal body.
So I put my hand up, right, and then obviously you can see.
Yeah, no.
And then we've got my R6 with the battery grip. Obviously, there's a big difference in there,
Yeah, I just noticed there's no body cover on your lens, on your body there, buddy. Do we need to send you an Amazon gift card so you can get some body covers?
I took it off to show Alan.
Yes.
Saying that, you can't laugh because I sent you a £10 Amazon voucher and you got a memory card, didn't you?
Sure did.
Yeah.
And maybe I should put a body cover on too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you never cleaned?
I did get a memory card.
Join CPS and they'll send you a body cover.
Oh, I did. I'm a CPS Pro. They sent me that weird neck strap and all that kind of crap too.
Yeah, I got that. But then when you renew, you don't get the stuff again.
No, all you get is the new mailing labels and stuff if you have to ship stuff in.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll sign my wife up instead of me. I haven't figured it out.
Ooh,
But I don't. I want. Well, I still
I
have
haven't thought of that.
that strap.
Should do that. But that's why I need a battery grip. Even with the 1DX, you know, there's not that much room for my fingers to go and still reach buttons and stuff.
Colin Deacon says more accurate to say narrower FOV. Can someone remind me what that means? I can't remember.
Field of view.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah.
I think I had a discussion with somebody on that on the group not that long ago.
Yeah. Well,
Take the picture already. Forget about it. Take
the thing is, when a camera manufacturer, a camera lens manufacturer says effective increase in focal length, you're going to go off that, aren't you? Because a lens maker, surely they'll know the best. They would be in the best position to know how to term their equipment. You know.
You'd think so. But
Well, I mean, I tend to think in all things technical, I'm pretty sharp because I've been doing this for decades. But at the end of the day, you know, you can say, well, you can do some calculation about focal length and depth of field and, you know, hyperfocal distance. What's it look like, right? What does aperture look like? And you have to use your lenses and get to know, like, because, you know, it could be at a certain aperture, you're not going to like the contrast, or the diffraction really starts to break down the image and you lose sharpness. So, you know, you can read all you want, but you got to be a photographer and go out there and use it and do it. And you know, like when you're doing something on a tripod, shoot at every single aperture so you can go back and on a big screen and really understand, like, you know, what happens when you stop the lens down, open it up, slow down the shutter, and all the rest.
Yeah, there's not a lot of reviewers or photographers, you know, in regards to YouTubers, who actually see value in getting lens test, sharpness test charts out and looking at them. And I think it's like Jared Pollan says that a lot. He says, I'll just get real world examples and show you that. Well, I think it's beneficial to show both real world and test charts so you can see the difference, because you'll never see the difference in a real world image, but you will see the difference in a test chart.
Yeah. But that's just buying something, right? I mean, once you own it,
once
you own your gear, you need to know your gear.
Yeah.
You can learn, like I said, you can get a PhD in optics and all this. It's great, right? Memorize it, but you've got to have the experience of shooting with that piece of equipment and get to know what does f3.5 look like on that lens at that distance. That's more valuable than, you know, all the technical speak. In my opinion.
Agreed.
Well, sometimes it doesn't matter, does it? As long as you get a good image, that's all that counts.
Yeah.
And I think it's more test charts are useful for you to judge should you buy this lens or not.
Yeah.
But after that, it's like, well, it's not really important, is it? You know. But that's the way I see it anyway. That's why I do test charts in the first place. So people can make their own mind up whether they think, should I buy that lens or this lens? You know. And this is why I sometimes get a bit peeved off with some of the big YouTubers out there who don't do the test charts. It's like, it's not going to hurt you to spend an extra day doing those test charts so people can see. You can do your real world images. I'm not saying you can't. You can do both and give it to your audience to make their own mind up. That's why sometimes I get a bit frustrated when I see people say, I don't do test charts. It's like, well, why not? You know,
because the only thing you need to know is the 70 to 200 f2.8 L lens is the sharpest, clearest, best lens in the world, and everybody knows that. And I don't need any more test charts. So there you have. Unless you need something wider.
Oh, I don't know. I probably disagree.
That's when I go to my 24 to 72.8.
But there are zooms, and then you've got the argument zoom versus prime, then, haven't you? Because I have noticed, I'm not disputing what you're saying regarding your 70-200. I have a Honda 70-200 2.8 Mark II. When I put it up against a prime, it's not quite as sharp in those corners.
No,
it can never be.
But
I cross in the corners.
well, your subject matter is always going to be in the center anyway.
Yeah.
It's just when you're dealing with test charts, I think people want to know how sharp is it in those corners, as well as vigneting. Vigneting is another thing that people look at in it, as well as your barrel distortion, pincushion distortion. Those are other things they look at as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Shall we get back to questions then?
Sure.
So there's more questions?
Danny Harry. So it sounds like Dirty Harry, doesn't it?
I thought that's what you said at first.
No, Danny Harry, his name. I want to buy a Canon R6. Is it worth buying an R6 Mark II?
Yes.
Good question. You think?
Is it worth buying a 10-year-old house or a brand new house?
Depends if you get a good price on that old house, doesn't it?
No. Then it's still a good deal on the old house, but the new house will give you 10 years more on the roof and everything. So no, just technology-wise, the Mark II and Mark I are day and night. Especially if Alan would tell you, if you're into videography, the Mark I is a no-go anyway, due to the limited clip lengths.
Well, yeah, then updated that. It's a bit annoying.
Yeah, which was fixed in the Mark II, which now has, as far as I know, unlimited clip lengths at full 4K. And just the updated technology of a couple years by itself will absolutely be worth it to buy the Mark II.
Yeah.
If you can afford it.
So I think Marshall might be interested in that little debate, actually, because he probably doesn't know. You've got the 600mm f11, right?
Yeah.
You're probably not aware of this. In the R6, there's a small box. You know, you've probably got the same box on your R5, haven't you? When you use a 600. Now,
I'll be right back, guys. My puppy is crying downstairs. I'll be right back.
Right. Basically, in the R5 Mark II and the R6 Mark II, that box that's really annoying, that doesn't have a lot of focus area, does it? Is actually a lot bigger. It's about here. You know, so you're in the Mark II, you've got better focus areas. A lot more of the screen is better. So if you ever was to consider upgrading to the R5 Mark II or the R6 Mark II, that lens would be a really good thing to use on those cameras.
Yeah, that's not an upgrade I'm contemplating, but that's me.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, I know.
I'd like to get that 85mm one too. That would make me very happy. Well, now I'm going to look and see how big the box is.
Yeah, it's quite tiny. It's the same.
I'm sure somebody has a question about something. Are there any more questions?
Yep. Got more questions here. Neil Grice, does anyone know if either of these extenders, the 1.4 Mark II and 2X, will work with a 75 to 300 lens? I'd probably say no, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's quite tiny in it.
You're right.
You know, you can go into crop mode. That gives you about 17 megapixels, and it gets you a bigger box.
Oh, and an effective focal length. Right, or narrower FOV, so everyone's happy.
Right. Yeah, so you'll have a bigger box if you go into your crop mode on that camera. That's what I saw on my R6. So
the next time we go on the whale boat, I'll let you know.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to the question, 75 to 300mm lens, I doubt the extenders would be compatible because from what I know, the glass element comes right to the back of the lens. So you need a bit of a space in, for the extender to slot in, because there's a little bit that goes in. Let me just get one of my extenders. Like this 2X one here. If you see there, it actually protrudes out of the actual casing of the extender. And if you've got a lens where the glass literally comes to the back of the camera, back of the lens, that won't slot in because you'll be bashing that element. So unfortunately, I suspect it won't be compatible. But check on Canon's website. They'll be able to have a compatibility list for the EF extenders. Just check if yours appears on that list. Lewis Demipov, looking to upgrade 5D Mark II, been looking at the R5 and the Sony A7R Mark IV, I think it is. Can you give me some feedback? I mainly shoot sports, wildlife, and street photography and astro in the future. Which would you recommend?
Well, for starters, we won't be your friends if you buy a Sony camera. So there's that.
Well, it is a Canon group, isn't it? I'd say they're pretty much on par with each other, if I'm honest with you. I know the A7R version 5 is considered probably a tad bit better than the R5, but then you've got the R5 Mark II coming out soon at some point, maybe in 6 months. So I suspect the R5 Mark II will up the game and be above Sony. So really, it comes down to whether you're prepared to wait 6 months, I suppose. Because I think they're saying the R5 Mark II is going to be, I think, north of 61 megapixels. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of data to move, that is.
Yeah. I mean, the 45 megapixel is already a big problem. So I bought a new PowerBook with the M1 processor, and Canon's DP Pro is basically dead.
Yeah,
right? It's gone. Yeah. But those large file sizes, if you don't need them, it's very inconvenient, honestly. Every move, you got to think about it. Every batch operation, every copy, every save, every edit, everything takes a lot longer until you downres that image, which you usually do at the end. So, do you really need 60? I know it's a stupid question, but do you need a 60 megapixel camera? Because it will cost you. It will cost you in storage space and card cost, in frustration of trying to move it around. If you want to use an iPad as your editor in the field, right? People do. With limited storage on those devices. And so it is something to consider. Even with the 45 megapixels of the R5, it's really can be an issue. And you need to know. And at this level, you should know, right? As a photographer, if you're buying this kind of gear.
Yeah, because I'm sure they're thinking about coming out with an R5S 100 megapixel camera. Ouch,
Yeah, that's when even I have to go and buy a new computer again.
Yeah, it's a lot of data, that, as well as a lot.
It's the same if I would go and get the R3 or maybe next year even the R1. I will have to upgrade my whole desktop again because I don't think this one would be able to keep up in a reasonable time.
Yeah, I think that's
hundreds of pictures.
If you're into serious portrait photography or like very technical photography, or I know there's some pros that do product photography where they're extremely precise with the lighting and angle and everything, right? I could see 100 megapixel having a value, but for general like sports and wildlife photography, and two, you have to think of as a percentage, we're not getting a lot, right? Like when you went from 8 to 18 megapixels, the resolution increase was very high, and going from 40 to 60, that's not as high an increase, right? So that's why you're hearing more about dynamic range and low light performance. Those are much more critical aspects, I think, for most photographers than just beating the megapixel drum.
That's why I ditched my 7D Mark II and did that most likely relatively stupid jump to the 1DX Mark II for the low light performance. I started, of course, losing my field of view with my lenses. I also suddenly had to zoom quite a bit more.
Yeah.
but I make that up by using much lower ISO and still getting the shots I need in dark environments with a better low light performance from the 1DX than I got from the 7D Mark II, which was already significantly mind-blowing at its low light capabilities, I think. But the 1 series definitely stepped that game up quite a bit and saved a lot of shots that otherwise I would have had to put in outtakes and throw away.
Yeah.
I think back to the question, there's not a definitive answer that, one of those two cameras is like clearly better, right? And I think you want to look at, the features might matter to you. Like, I don't know how Sony's 8K video performance compares, or if that even matters, or if, they have the same kind of, video color ranges that Canon supports, because they have all these HDR modes, and those things can matter to you a lot if that's what you're doing. Or, if you own a bunch of EF lenses, then, for me, the EF lens compatibility with everything. I never would have gone to mirrorless if I couldn't keep my lenses, because I wasn't about to sell buy only lenses. So those kinds of externalities, I think, are more important than, I think anyone who's, just straight out says this camera is way better than the other and you just shouldn't buy it between those two is probably not correct. Right. I just think they're both really at the top of their game.
Well, one of the things I noticed when I went from the 7D to the 5D Mark II was how more clear my imagery was, when it comes to doing portraiture. I was lucky enough to be in a place where I could take some pictures of some models, one time. And when I used the 5D Mark II, I was using the 7D a lot. And when I used the 5D Mark II, I thought, whoa, this is so much clearer, than using the APS-C camera. And I think that's going to translate to why people go to full frame versus APS-C. I suspect that's is that something you've come to understand, Blake? Because I know you do a bit of portraiture.
I'm sorry, I kind of got tuned out for a second. I had somebody text me. Sorry about that. If you touch back real quick.
What I'm trying to say is people use a lot of APS-C cameras for general photography, but you're using a 5D Mark. Is it 4?
Yeah, 5D Mark IV,
which is full frame.
Uh-huh.
Do you agree, or do you find that full frame is dramatically sharper than APS-C is when it comes to model work?
Definitely. Also, I mean, like my full frame definitely. When I went into buying a camera, I was gonna buy a Nikon at first, and I wasn't sure, and it was an APS-C or whatever you're calling it, not the full frame. And I think I was going to spend like $1,000. And I didn't know much about cameras when I was buying a camera. And I bought my 5D Mark IV as my first camera, right?
Nice.
So I basically went by price. And I read up about a bunch of stuff. But I was like, this is fairly expensive camera. It's not the top of the line camera, but it's mid-grade, right? And I went in and spent $2,500 on my camera at the time, which was like a year and a half ago or so. Got the 2 lenses, and I've slowly been working on it. I've had my friends say, hey, I need a portrait for this or that, and I'm trying my hand at it and trying to do the best I can. And when it comes to editing and stuff, it's nice because I do like a 30% edit, and then my wife comes in and she does the rest of the 70% of the edit, which is wonderful because she has a better eye for it and everything, which it's nice to have a team like that. And it's also nice to have her because when it comes to these shoots, I don't really know what to tell the people to do because that's not in my head. And she's a woman and she's like, oh, do this and do that and pose like this. And it's just stuff that I wouldn't think about, right? So it's nice having that woman's aspect to it, to at least my photography game. It helps me out a ton.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Hello, Alan.
Yes.
Oh, he's back.
So
that's very energetic, isn't it? That welcome, isn't it?
So I started shooting concerts with a 7D, then a 7D Mark II, then a 5D Mark IV, then the R5. And the big jump was to the 5D Mark IV. That was like a giant jump in quality. So what the R5 gets me is like I hit focus more because it can track the eyes. But I shoot like 1,000 shots or more at one show, and so it's nice when that one killer shot is actually sharp. But in image quality, the jumping to the full frame and the 5D Mark IV for low light sensitivity, and the way I could freeze focus on the face and get all the rest to defocus with like an 85 or 50. I really liked that 5D Mark IV a lot. So I think in that kind of photography is a big difference.
But they're insignificant now because it's not mirrorless, right?
No.
I don't get how some people think that way.
No.
I'm sorry, and somebody might run around with an R8 or an R5 or something. That does not mean he gets a better shot than you get with your 5D Mark IV. It goes back to what Marshall earlier said. If you don't know your gear, you don't get the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, believe it or not, I do use center point focus on my R6 quite often because I want to control where I'm focusing. Obviously, in terms of wildlife, the eye tracking is night and day, and that's something you won't get on the 5D Mark IVs. But put that aside and say I'm doing portrait photography, I'd probably just use center point anyway myself, because I want to control what's going off.
That is what I've been using when I do my portraits is center point.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever get that lucky that I can use center point in my photography. Because my subjects are rather large and they usually move a lot, so I have to move my focus point a lot.
Yeah, moving your focus points, especially in the 5D series, is not hard. That's what I use. Okay, and I actually like when you say that argument of DSLR versus mirrorless, and especially the look. Well, I'd like to let you know that my favorite portrait camera is the Canon 5D Mark I, because of the image and the color science it produces, especially for skin tones. I have gotten so many great looking portraits out of that camera, and the 5D Mark II as well, and then the 1DS series, which is a studio based camera system, was remarkable color science, and just a little easier not that easy to use. But the 5D series is probably some of the easiest to use, and great resulting images out of what you get for the price point. And does it stack up against every spec against mirrorless cameras now? No. But does it get the job done when you need it to? Yes. And those people that say, oh, are you just wasting your money? Well, guess what? You're wasting your money either way. Yeah. So might as well waste your money on something that you feel more confident with. And then that's the point. Is like you said, know your gear. But not also know your gear, but know what your gear is capable of and what you are capable of getting out of it.
A funny thing is I bought the 5D4 first, and then I needed a second camera for a wedding that I went to shoot, so I got a 5D Mark III. Well, the 5D Mark IV has a touch screen, and the 5D3 doesn't have a touch screen, so that took some getting used to on my part, for sure, because I'm so used to, like, oh, I want to go to that menu, just touch it there and go, you know?
Not your favorite.
5D3.
It's still a brilliant camera, though.
But I remember back in the old days in photography school, they used to use the Pentax K1000 was the like everybody they would give them one of those cameras at the beginning of the course, and nowadays I think that the standard camera is probably going to be like the 5D Mark II, where it's just that beginner's level to where you can learn just about everything you need to do to digital photography. And it's going to produce amazing results no matter what you get. And then every iteration from there up, and even the 6D, I also use the 6D for video because I love the way it looks. And it's fantastic. So those are highly underrated DSLRs that people just sweep under the rug just because there's something newer and flashier. It's like the same argument about buying a brand new car versus buying something used a few years old. It's just not for everybody.
Right. Right. Some more questions. Ali Fontana. I'm not sure what this actually is, but shooting with an Aurora. I'm currently running a EF 24-70 f4 lens. I want to upgrade to a wider aperture. What is your favorite wide angle lens? I think he's referring to, but Aurora, I'm not sure what that is. Is that a new camera or a system?
No, I think what they're referring to is the phenomena, the Northern Lights.
Oh,
I think they want a wide. I think they want a wide lens in order to shoot that.
like the
And obviously that's going to go to like the 16 to 35 2.8 if you want to zoom, or the 16 mil prime, the 20 mil prime, the 24 mil prime, the 28 mil prime.
Even a 14 or 12, if you want a real big view with
Yes.
the sky over it,
Yeah.
get a nice fisheye for that.
Well, and see, I would prefer, if you're going to capture something like that, try to get something that stays away from too much fisheye distortion, because then it's going to end up almost ruining your image. Yes, you can fix it somewhat in post, but then it's not going to quite look natural. So within that 16 to 35, 17 to 40 range is where you want to be. And obviously you're going to get better performance. And if you're specifically going to get pictures of the Northern Lights, I would highly suggest getting a wide angle prime, because it will give you better low light performance, and you'll be able to capture more of the color information and less color noise of the image. And if you're doing this seriously for photography, then you should seriously look into it.
Yeah, hands down. One thing many people forget about astrophotography, or even the Aurora Borealis, you might still have to have a really long shutter speed to get the lights and colors you need for a good image. So now we're talking about streaking, because all of a sudden, even having your camera open 15-20 seconds, the Earth moves. And after 15-20 seconds, you will get streaks of every little star that is up there. So now we're talking about a pretty massive investment into a tripod with a celestial follow mount.
Yeah.
And then whatever you have to do to keep condensation off the lens, which that's been a big problem for me. I not the Aurora, but when I get out in cold pre-dawn, the condensation can just ruin the whole shoot.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So you've done it before?
I've shot outside before dawn. Yeah, I haven't shot.
Okay.
But
even
in San Francisco, it would, your lens can fog up like that. And if you don't
live in San Francisco?
For a long time, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about this in the last stream though, where lenses do need to get accustomed to the temperatures.
Yes.
So you don't get that happening. Because there have been some people that have gone out with a lens, taken, let's say, some wildlife images in Alaska, taken what they thought was sharp images and took it back to the computer and thought, something wrong with my lens. It cost me a fortune. What's wrong with it? And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you've gone from a warm environment to a cold one.
Yep. The other way around. I did that. Where I live, and I think you can attest for me, in Texas, the weather is interesting. And where I am, it's such high humidity that I went from an air-conditioned environment inside and took my lenses outside in the blistering heat. And it streaked up on the outside of the element, and it looked like literal clouds. And I was like, oh my God. And didn't even have a clue.
Yeah, I think we all have done that.
Yep.
I don't think there's a single photographer that has not had that issue at least
acclimation. Weather, climate acclimation. Keep that in mind, folks.
A lot of these in the bag.
It also affects your battery performance, because this is a real thing. So it's also going to affect your battery performance, especially in extreme temperature situations.
We all know it. The colder it gets, the shorter it is.
Yeah.
Here's a tip for batteries. Put them in your pocket. It warms them up. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Small tip, but it helps. Right. Colin Deacon says, "What do you think of the 90D versus the R6 Mark II?" Well, you're comparing AMD versus
Apples and oranges here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a massive difference. You know.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
not It's not really comparable.
No way.
No.
That's like comparing Super Duty pickup truck to a smart car. Two completely different things, completely different jobs, completely different focus groups, and you can't really compare them.
I mean, you're talking 30 megapixels versus 24, but apart from that, it's full frame versus.
And this is a confusing question, because I believe that still the price point difference, the difference between them, is over $1,000, because I believe you can still get a 90D new for about $1,200. The R6 Mark II is like $2,500.
Yeah.
So you're still substantially off. So even from a price point stand, you're not comparing anything in the same league. It should be more like the 90D versus the R7, or R10.
Great.
I can see that. Or the R6 versus the 5D Mark IV, or the 6D Mark II. Things like that. But yeah, this isn't a very valid question for seriousness. This is one question. I sorry we got cut off and everything. This is one question I wanted to have for you guys, is the impact on a lot of this AI stuff coming out. Specifically to something in particular I had thought about, we all know that there's lots of accounts on various social media sites that aren't run by actual people, and bots in particular. And what this new AI system, some of these text and chat AIs are doing, is basically just mimicking human speeches. And we may have a harder time filtering out accounts that you may think are actual people, but might not be.
Well, this was the biggest problem with Elon Musk and Twitter.
Be right back again.
Because he wanted to pay about half the price that they wanted, and his claim was 20% of the accounts were bots. And he says, "I'm not paying that much money for something that might be full of fake accounts."
Yeah.
Which
is a valid argument, and I'm sure if somebody, tried to buy Facebook from under Mark Zuckerberg, they might, it's a similar argument to be made, and whatever social media is you run on, Reddit, Reddit has the same thing. It's a problem. And, it's just, I think that some of these AI systems have exacerbated that to a point to where, I'm not saying that this might not be a real person. That's not what I'm insinuating. But it's something that, in the realm of possibility of things that, AI can create, nowadays it can make a literal person who could theoretically take
photos from a
photos
and make it look really interesting, and they're not. None of them are real people.
Exactly. And this could have serious implications in the photography world if somebody chose to automate. Say, if you chose to automate, 90% of everything, to where you just have clients come into a studio and you automate taking pictures of them.
We used to have that. It was a photo booth.
There was a photo booth,
That's pretty much the old version of that.
Yeah. So,
this problem has been with us, since photography was born, right? So impressionist artists started creating impressionist art because the camera was the threat to their portrait business, right? That's why like Van Gogh and those guys did all this abstraction, because, well, we'll do something the camera cannot do, haha. And I think it was in the early 90s, I talked to a guy who worked at a camera store, and he had, spent years mastering how to use, the enlarger and the print process and the chemistry and, all, it was just a whole art form, right? And digital photography just got rid of it, right? His whole livelihood was gone because people could do what, it took him years of training to learn how to do. And I think every generation of photographers faces that, right? And so at some point, forget about which model of camera you have, right? You got to pick that gear up and come up with something creative and new and different and take it to the next level, or else, the automated whatever it is will eat your lunch. And that was true in the 30s and the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, right? It's it's just true every 10 years. And so AI is a big threat to the photography business. So what do you got to do? You got to be a creative genius or you die, right? I mean,
make it your friend. Make it work for you.
Colin Deacon says 90D is my current body. I'd like an R6 Mark II. Bought my 90D for 800 used.
Why do you want to switch from a 90D APS-C to an R6 Mark II? What is your change in focus? What changed in your photography?
What do you expect it to do for you or help you grow with?
What are you trying to achieve, Colin?
Because
it's probably money better well spent on lenses.
Yeah, because the 90D is going to be great for wildlife and sport, but your R6 is going to be great for portraiture, wildlife as well. But obviously, you're not getting your crop factor.
What do you need a better autofocus for? What are you shooting that your 90D autofocus can't keep up with?
It's saying better autofocus. So
yes, it is better autofocus.
I'd say the R7. If you're going to have a 90D, go to the R7. To be honest with you, you're going to get better autofocus with the R7 for definite. Is it going to match up with the R6? Not quite, but I'd say if it comes to cost, the R7 will probably be a better match for him, I would have thought. What do you guys think?
R7.
Yeah.
I still would love to know what the main subject of the photography is to make that statement.
Yeah. I mean, I love full frame photography now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
now and then I would love to have an APS-C buddy again, but my main focus or my main photography will forever be full frame, I think.
Yeah.
It's one of these things, once you go full frame, you never go back,
Unless that crop factor is the main reason. Because I know
that's why I'm asking what the main focus for the photography is.
You can still get away with most things on a crop factor that you need to do with full frame, with the exception of some full frame high burst rates from some of the bigger bodies. But things like the R7, the 7D Mark II, things like that, the 90D, have decent enough burst rates that can keep up with even today's mirrorless cameras. So for the price point that you get, I can see some people debating still a new crop sensor would definitely hold weight against some of the older used DSLRs that are full frame.
That's very possible.
It's absolutely, especially paired with the right lenses, you could get around the crop factor. So
you can use extenders as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, to a lot of
the R7, I don't like the design, the wheel placement. Plus, it has buffer issues.
Well, the buffer is not the same as the 90D was, so it's not really that much of a difference.
But
in fact, it's faster, I think, as far as I know.
It's probably faster. Definitely faster than 90D.
Because you got 30 frames a second versus 10.
Yeah, and I think that's still the same image sensor, isn't it? Because it's
pretty
still
much
32 megapixels.
Same thing, pretty much. Yeah. They're trying to argue and say it's not quite the same sensor, but to me it is.
Yeah. If it's around the same megapixel range, it'll produce the same size files, similar size files. It could also come down to the look. If there's a specific look that's desired from a specific camera, some people just want a justification.
So I'll just show you what he means regarding the wheel. You probably know this already, but
Yes.
the wheel's there, right? And then on the 6D that I've got here, sorry, the R6, sorry, the wheel's there. That's what he's referring to. And I suppose it comes down to design.
Now,
It's
is that supposed to be different from
Very small.
like the 5D Mark II right here,
a bit
where
same.
that wheel is right here?
Yeah, that's like
you
the R6
Yeah.
or the one bodies. Even the 7D Mark IIs, they all had the
It
wheel
doesn't.
like that.
And where was it again, Paul?
They didn't. They could have put the wheel there, but for some reason Canon changed their mind and put it up here. That's all.
Yeah, I personally am not a fan of that
Oh,
layout either. I understand that, Colin. I definitely do. It would be a
It's
very weird
quite
readjustment
different, that's
to
all.
do that.
yeah.
You know, it's like going from the 1DX to a 5D Mark IV. It's different layout, isn't it?
Yes.
So does the 7 have like a wheel? Like, let's see. So mine has a wheel here and here. So does that have those two?
There's one there as well on the back here. What you've got a wheel here. Sorry, here. The D, I think they call it.
But I've got.
They've moved it. They've moved it from here to here.
But does it have like the wheel back here? Oops.
You've got all that. You've got all that as well.
Yeah, so that's two wheels, and you can use the lens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still for most people, that's enough control while shooting.
Yeah. You've got one.
I don't think the problem isn't enough control. I think the problem is the relocation of the wheel.
Yeah.
And simply the preference of not having the wheel up there.
It's not
reachability. Who knows?
No. It's just basically instead of down here, you've got it up here.
Yeah, but it's stupid up there, in my opinion, as well. I completely agree with Colin. No, I wouldn't like it up there either. It's in my way when I have my camera up in my face. If I have my camera here, I can use the lower wheel a lot better than the upper wheel.
I suppose personal preference. I suppose I don't find it an issue, to be honest with you. You know.
But Colin still hasn't answered what he's actually shooting.
Yeah, it's not said really.
Yeah, and you have a bunch of EFS lenses already, because when you go to full frame, you have to replace any of those crop lenses. Pretty much, they still work, but they work quite poorly on a full frame body.
Bye, Prime.
What's that?
Oh, bye, Prime.
Bye, Sigma.
While we're waiting for Colin, let's go to another question. Parishmore, looking to finally upgrade from a Rebel to a 90D or a 6D Mark II. Any advice? It's the same question, really, isn't it?
Pretty much, but either one will be a significant upgrade from your Rebel. So whatever you do, you will have a significantly superior body to work with.
That reminds me, we were talking about batteries a while ago. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Rebels have a completely smaller battery, and that's annoying if you've got lots of LPE6 batteries.
Yes, the LPE10s. Those were the batteries that I just sold two of them, two aftermarket ones yesterday that I was talking about earlier. Yes,
I found my LPE6 outperformed those twice over in general use.
Yeah, that's not hard. I mean, let's be honest about the Rebel bodies. They are not pro bodies or even semi-pro bodies. No. They are consumer bodies. They are, hey, I bought you a camera so you can little snapshots of your kids in the backyard. That's a Rebel.
That's why the even the 80-90D series still uses the LP6 because it's so much more demanding from a higher grade camera that the Rebel's battery can't keep up with that.
Yeah, and the 90s, the double-digit Ds from Canon are still designed as prosumer or amateur aspiring pro cameras.
Yeah.
So you are expecting to take a lot more shots. They have a lot more electronics inside, which will require more battery power. You will expect a 70 to 200 Mark III IS on a 90D a lot more than on a Rebel.
Yeah.
So you also need to power that monster in front of it.
Not to mention it's... Oh, go ahead.
No, so that's what I meant. That's why even the double-digit Canons have the interchangeable batteries as the Pro bodies, the LPE6. Well, the Rebel is not it can handle all those lenses too, the IS lenses and everything, but it is not intended as a constant use out there for hours camera.
Well, if I'm honest with you, when I owned the 10 megapixel 1D Mark III, that battery could literally go on for an entire weekend with never being charged.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're just on another level when it comes to battery power. That's the one thing I will say about those 1D bodies. They're fantastic on battery power. You know, outperforms anything.
Yeah, and it will also you can also frame a house with it.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, if you're shooting video, you need long battery life, right? If you're shooting a video, because you can't just stop to replace the battery. And for me, you know, like keeping 2 of these things in my pocket, big deal. It's not.
Yeah,
it's never been a problem. But what I would say about upgrading is, you know, it's like having a musical instrument, right? Camera's like a musical instrument. It's something you create with, and you have to ask yourself, okay, where is this limiting me? Am I having trouble with getting noise because I like shooting in the dark? Am I having trouble because it's not crisp enough? It's not, the focus isn't responsive enough. I wish it was like this. I wish it was more like that. And that's not something that the 5 of us can tell you, right? And you know, whenever I bought like a new lens or an upgraded camera, like I went out like right away, and I knew I shot with the new thing that I was expecting out of it, and I got the result I expected, right? Like if it was a new lens, there was a certain kind of shot that I wanted to be able to take with that lens, and boom, I did it. And if you're just thinking, well, there's like this one and that one and this one and that one, and I don't really know, it's really because maybe you haven't been shooting enough, or you haven't thought enough about like, where is my equipment limiting me? And if it's not, then you don't need a new camera. Right? Just because it makes a more expensive one, I promise you in 6 months it'll be like another better one, and then another better one. You know, it doesn't mean you have to buy it.
Yeah, well, I must admit, I could have sticked with my 100 to 400 Mark II EF lens, but I went for the RF 100 to 500, didn't I? You know, and there's a massive price investment in
What
that.
did you have to get rid of to get it?
Did I get rid of 3 lenses? Yeah, I got rid of my 70 to 200 2.8. I got rid of my 150 to 600 and my 100 to 400 Mark II to afford that one lens, you know. But then again, I don't use some. You can only use one lens at a time. Let's face it.
Yeah.
You know. Well, some can.
Well, Colin gave us a couple more replies.
There is a limit to how much you can carry.
I love what he said.
Yeah, so you only have 2 lenses that would function as a full frame.
Yeah.
The 18 and 135 and the 55 to 250 will not work with a full frame body.
Yeah.
They're different mounts, they just won't fit. You have the 1.4 extender Mark III, which is great, but also only will work with 100 to 400.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it will also not work on a mirrorless body with the RF to EF converter, because then you can't put the extender on and the converter for the camera lens combination. It does not work.
This one doesn't work?
You cannot use a EF lens, an EF teleconverter, and then an EF to RF converter to the mirrorless body.
Really? I do.
That's what I was told when I looked into that. It was like one of the things that also kept me away from it, because I can't use it.
But no, I mean, I have this baby and this baby.
Yeah.
I use it on my R5 for sure with the little adapter.
Yeah, that's the case, yes. Because I can put the 2X on this 2.8, get my R6.
But you do need the EF teleconverter, not the RF.
Yeah, not the RF. Yeah, you can't.
But the RF one's like so expensive. I don't know why anybody would buy it anyway.
Well, it depends if you got loads of money, I suppose. So let me just put this on and show you.
Kind of like that RF 100 400.
So this gives me 600 millimeters, and that's the 2X on there. This is the R6.
Cool.
So
That's pretty though.
It does
All
work.
right.
That's a
So
looker.
I was misinformed. Somebody on our group actually, I said it works, you can do it, and then that person came in and violently told me that is absolute bullshit and you cannot use an EF converter with the EF to RF adapter.
Yeah.
Well,
wrong then, I guess.
Yeah.
No, and especially if it's as long as it's all the native Canon brands, then it shouldn't have any problem at all.
That's what I thought, because it's an EF to RF adapter, you know?
Yeah.
So this is the 100 to 500. The EF extenders won't fit on that because it's got a native RF mount. So I have to get the RF extenders.
Teleconverter, yeah.
They're not cheap though. They actually are quite expensive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
but then he says nice. He likes to shoot songbirds in his garden and local countryside. So the 100 to 400 is definitely a great lens for that, especially also with that 1.4 teleconverter. 500. And going with that, the 6D Mark II is definitely an amazing camera for it, especially with the digital crop you can activate in the menu inside.
Yep, and it's flippy screen.
Full
flame flippy screen.
The frame rate, it won't be too high though. If he's wanting to do songbirds, I think you want a high frame rate.
But that's the frame rate on the 6 Mark II?
I think it's like 5 to 7, which is doable enough.
Yeah, it's doable. It's like shooting with a 5D.
If you can't get the shot within 3 to 5 frames, then nah.
Yeah.
If you can't get it within 3 to 5 frames and you're not shooting for National Geographic, deal with it.
Well, yeah.
I'd rather have the
because you're not shooting for National Geographic.
Well, it might be. You never know.
Yeah, he hasn't said that. He hasn't said that he isn't.
Yeah. Like hummingbirds, you need high frame rate for that, for definite, because they are so quick.
High shutter speed will also freeze them. You don't need the high shutter. I mean, I've shot hummingbirds with my Rebel. What is it? The 350D. I don't know what it is in Rebel speak in America. And I've got some really nice shots with hummingbirds, and that thing at 3.4 or 3.6 frames a second.
It also helps if you're not using a tripod, the fast frame rate as well, because it sort of compensates a little bit. But to me, if you're going to do hummingbirds, I think getting a tripod is a good thing to get, you know.
And all of those lenses, except for the 50, all have IS.
Yeah, the 135 and the 55 to 250.
Yeah, they all have IS.
50 will, if it's a 1.8 is referred.
No, yeah, the 50 doesn't, but all the other ones have IS.
Yeah.
So that should also help.
Yeah.
It should, but they won't work with a R6, right?
Well, they will, but they crop.
All of them will, yeah.
Like, I don't know, 8 megapixels or something.
They technically will work as in, oh, hell no.
They want
as in it works, as in so we can say that it works.
Well, yeah, exactly. Technically, it works. Practically, it does not.
Well, I'd say the 100-400 does, because I own that.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, so 100 to 400, definitely. It's an EF mount. Same with the 50. It's an EF mount. It will work just fine. But the other two, I would ditch with my IPSC body if I go full frame mirrorless. Because it's not worth the loss.
Well,
I spent $2,200 on an R6 Mark II to limit yourself to 8 megapixels because you're using a 10-year-old 18 to 135.
Also have the extender. As a fact, but sometimes it's hard work. Yes.
Well, it's got no eye tracking, especially for fast birds, you know.
It's going to be just as hard to work with on R6 Mark II.
But saying that, people have managed with the 90D for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
The 17
exactly.
for a long time.
The R6 Mark II will not magically make this child's play. You still have to do the exact same settings. You have to do the same movements to follow the birds. The only thing you get is maybe somewhat better autofocus and maybe a little bit higher frame rate per second.
Yeah.
But that also depends on your shutter speed.
Or maybe silent shutter so the birds don't run away when the camera click. That might help.
That. But it's not like the R6 Mark II will turn it into easy work and just sit there and push a button.
Yeah.
It will not be that different in the work compartment, in the work part of taking the picture, setting up the shot, framing it, getting it ready, and getting it done.
If you're that worried about it, save the money and get an R3.
Will also not make the work any less.
Yeah, well, he could sell his car, couldn't he?
Then it will be even harder. Then he can't even drive to his shoot.
Well, cycle
You
then.
get on a bicycle.
Yeah.
The hell?
Look at Dan's face when he said that. Bloody hell. To be honest, I think the R7, for price and capabilities, it's unrivaled for what it can do. Unless you've got a load of money, that is. All right. My favourite photographer is a guy called Stephen Dalton. Incredible images from the days before of.
We talked about that in a different video where
Yeah.
autofocus made us lazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely made me lazy in my photography. I went from the 3.6 up to the 7 and then 10 with the 770 Mark II, and now to the 14 or 16 with 1DX Mark II. So yeah, I don't have to time my shot all that right. I can take 20 pictures while that horse takes one jump, and I pick the one or two good ones. That did make me lazy. With the old Rebel, yeah, I had to be damn spot on or I missed the shot.
Well, I've mentioned this before, but there was a sports photographer in a football match, and it started snowing, and the autofocus just wouldn't work.
No autofocus on these.
I just switched to manual. So yeah, you can be lazy sometimes. I think people.
No, easy. Autofocus made us very lazy.
Yeah.
And I think Alan can relate to that a lot with videography.
Oh yeah.
Just thinking of what what was it, 50C or whatever you talked about earlier, with the full frame, constant autofocus at full 4K in any kind of frame. Yeah, an end effect, it will make you lazy. It will enable you to do things you were never able to do before.
Yeah.
But in other parts of the shot, it will make you lazy because you don't have to worry about the focus anymore. You don't have to keep your finger on the lens to manipulate that focus ring constantly.
But it comes with a caveat, meaning that I can't use my vintage manual focus only lenses.
Yeah, congratulations. You can finally use good lenses.
Why not?
Those are now
Just
paperweights.
kidding.
Everything raises the bar.
Yes.
But I'm afraid I have to get going now because
I'm in the same boat. I'm about to pass out from. I got to eat something, man. I'll take it easy. I had fun with y'all today.
It was nice meeting you, Blake. Marshall, good seeing you as well.
Blake,
thank you for your input.
Mr. Riddler.
Anytime.
Y'all take it easy, guys.
I won't tell Batman. I won't tell Batman you were here.
That's all right.
Oh, I already did. We were not supposed to.
That I'm in Houston, all right? Just keep that.
I wasn't supposed to tell him that either.
Well,
oh no.
He's here on a
just let him out.
They really is.
You might want to move.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Marshall.
Bye.
Right, I've got another page of questions to go through.
And then there were 3.
Rhonda Hodson Killam looking to get a 7200 2.8. Any difference between Mark II and Mark III EF USM?
Yes.
And I believe it's like corner sharpness, some contrast.
Significant contrast. I actually compared them myself. It's significant.
And the build, the exterior build is completely redesigned. So I would definitely like as if it's like a versus which ones you should buy. Definitely the Mark II,
if you can afford it.
Yes, where it is significantly costlier. But as in terms of will it get the job done, the Mark I will get the job done, and lots of people still use that, and it's a fantastic lens.
I think you might have misheard. I'm meaning the Mark II and the Mark III. The difference between them two.
I have not used the Mark III.
From what I know, it's just a coating difference and a slight difference in contrast. From what I know.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And I think it's a different color, right? It's a different color or something.
7200 2.8. Yeah. Obviously, it'd be the IF lens he's referring to.
Yeah, the only difference between the Mark II and the Mark III is the front lens coating.
Yeah.
It's the only difference.
I think Mr. Northrop did a comparison, and there was not a lot of difference.
Between the Mark II and Mark III, I will never ever tell anybody to buy a Mark III.
Apart from price.
It's not worth it, really not.
Yeah.
Unless Canon sponsors me, then I will tell whatever they want. But
I
right
was
now,
going to
they
say,
don't.
unless you're Peter McKinnon.
Yeah, but they are not sponsoring me. They don't give me a dime, so I say what I want. And in that case, Mark II. No hesitation, no doubts, no buts, no ifs, no Mark II.
Yeah.
All right. Alan Macmillan, struggling to get shots in a gym. It's a shame Mark in here. He'll be able to answer this. For high school basketball, using a 70-300 f4, having high ISO photos, too noisy. Before I invest in a f2 lens, wonder if anyone has found a good combo that works. He's using a T7i, which is a bit...
It's a rebel.
It needs a full frame, in my opinion.
That's exactly. I was going to say, because that's a perfectly capable lens, especially, and if you're getting noisy images out of that, I'm wondering, it's the body. You definitely need something full frame to handle. Bless you.
Thank you.
I mean, Gesundheit.
Danke.
Something that handles ISO better is definitely. I would definitely invest in that before you go buying more glass, because you've already got something decent.
It's the 70-300L we're talking about, right?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, that's what I think, because if it's a 4 to 5.6 ISUSM, which is the exact same numbers as the L, so it's very confusing which 70-300 we're talking about.
But that's just it. There isn't. I don't see one that's.
There is no 70-300 f4. It does not exist.
No, it's a 5.6, but not.
It's a 4 to 5.6, depending on your zoom.
4 to 5.6.
But it's for the L and the standard lens. They are the identical f-stops.
Well, it's because I think that the L is a 70 and the non-L is a 75.
Nope. It's a 70-300, and there is also a 75-300, which is a significantly inferior lens even to the standard 70-300.
Yeah.
There's no 300, unless he's referring to a 70-200, but there's no 70-300 f4.
No, if it's a 200 f4, then your only chance to get away from the grainy images is a nicer body. Because the f4 should be absolutely capable of shooting a baseball or basketball game inside. Sorry, not baseball, basketball.
Something that handles ISO better, and that will give you more depth of field with your lens. Stay away from the rebels, unless you're a beginner. If you're taking photography seriously, invest in a full-frame camera.
Yeah. Or even a 90D or an 80D will significantly handle the ISO and low light better than any rebel body out there.
Yes.
But if you really want to get serious about sports photography, invest in a used 7D Mark II.
Yes.
They are very affordable. They are professional grade cameras, weather sealed, magnesium alloy body. They are rugged as a tank.
Yeah.
And very, very capable in low light, especially the Mark II of the 70s.
Yeah.
At 10 frames a second, it uses our favorite LPE6 batteries. And gives you the significant advantage of field of view conversion due to the crop sensor.
Yeah.
Did I word that politically correct enough?
Like a poet, Dan.
I appreciate it.
Like a poet. I was going to start playing the harp in the background.
Oh, that would be awesome. Do you have one?
I have my guitar on the other side of the TV.
You totally need to play guitar for background music now. Paul, can you second that motion?
It's all copyrighted.
Oh. All right. Do you have another question?
Yeah. Steve Langford. Can anyone recommend a flash for a 6D for indoor use so don't have to be fancy?
I would go with the young Nuo 600 EXRT2, whatever the number is. It's the identical one-on-one clone copy of the Canon 600. Actually has a slightly better flash color, in my opinion, which I actually use that one. like it a lot. It's affordable, it's upgradable, and fully compatible with all other radio controlled and optical controlled flashes from Canon and Yongnuo.
It is a manual flash, though, isn't it?
No, it is not.
It's not.
It's full autofocus from 24 to 200 millimeters.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
It's literally a 1-in-1 clone of the Canon version.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there are some manual ones out there, though, aren't there? That don't zoom.
There are a couple manual ones, but
Yeah. I think they'd be a lot
know.
cheaper, won't they?
They would be a lot cheaper, but I would not go for a manual zoom.
Right.
He's already shooting on a 6D full frame body. You want a zoom, an auto-focusing assisted flash.
Yeah.
You want an ETTL2.
Yes. That's what I went from my I use Godox flashes,
Mhm.
and I went from a TT600, which does not have ETTL, to a V1, which does. And
Day and night.
I was like, oh my god, this is so much better.
Because all of a sudden, the software solves most of your problems with indoor flash
Exactly. And I could
photography.
just sit there and
Exactly.
It was like a tank. And so I seem to like Godox flashes.
Very
for
nice flashes as
consistency.
well.
Yes, very nice. And I love their. I've never had a single problem with any of their communications or radio pairing, anything like that. In fact, it was probably some of the easiest to learn and operate for the price point. Because once we start getting professional flashes and consistent lights, it starts getting expensive. Wait until you start getting into video lights.
Right.
All right.
Sean Jeffries, what two lenses would you buy for a reasonable price for the T7 camera?
That's a nearly impossible question to answer without knowing what he shoots.
Yeah.
But I would say, as a must-have for a Rebel body, for me would be the 18-135 IS STM. And then I would most likely slap a 70-300 f4 to 5.6 Mark II on it.
We were just talking. Speak of the devil.
I think if it comes to reasonable price, the 55 to 250 is quite a bit cheaper, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not remotely as capable. It makes no huge difference. I mean, you can buy the 70-300 Mark II used for 400.
That's true.
And that is so far ahead developed lens.
Yeah.
You get so much more reach out of it, especially on an APS-C body compared to that 55
plus it's just going to have
250.
glass coatings. It's going to be
No. I'm not talking about the L lens here. I'm talking about the black lens.
Oh.
Not talking L here. We talked about affordable.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even bother with that one. I would save. And actually, I would probably save if you're looking for reach. You know, the 300 f4 prime is not too bad. For all around use for a T7, I started one of the T7s. Okay, and I like that camera. It's good. It's easy to use. It'll get the job done. But for all around use, you probably want something wide because the crop factor, like the 16-35. Or the the 17-55. That's right. Canon makes one.
17-55.
Yeah. Or the Sigma, which I was using earlier.
Or the older Canon 17-40. It's even an L lens and still very affordable.
That's the one I am using right now. The 17-40 f4. Yes. Perfectly capable lens.
Amazing lens.
Yes. I loved it. And I've even used it for wide.
I need to get one again.
Oh yeah. If you're running out of one, I'll send you mine. Yeah. Yeah. I actually used to have 2 copies. I only have one now.
But yeah, that's a lens that I'm definitely missing in my setup nowadays. Now, not often, but now and then it's just a little bit more, you know, and that lens is right there. If I don't need the reach of up to 70 and I don't need the 2.8 or the weight of especially the Sigma weight of the 24 to 70, 2.8s and the 17-40 from Canon f4,
You're talking heft.
Hard to beat.
Yeah, and especially the image quality that I've gotten out of it. I've been blown away with it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
really
kind of a hidden gem that nobody really pays much attention to.
Mhm.
And it's a lens that should get a lot more credit and showroom on the stage than it does.
Yeah. Fun fact: it was my first L lens.
Nice.
First L lens I ever bought.
Well, first L lens I had was the 300 f4
Nice.
IS lens. I used to slap a 1.4 extender on there and pretty good telephoto lens.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could go for the 400 5.6, which is quite popular with wildlife at the moment. You know, it's been popular for 20 years. I'm hoping they'll revise that, hopefully with some
That would
IS.
be amazing. If they
Don't
make
have
a new
IS,
version.
you know.
We talked about that in Messenger the other day, Paul.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing if we get a RF 400 5.6.
Yeah. With IS. Because it didn't have IS. That's the reason why I never bought it, because it had no IS.
Yeah, but nowadays there's no way that they would build one without an IS in it. So I think we're safe from that.
Yeah.
But there's no news on that yet.
No, not yet. But they haven't done that much announcements yet on RF.
Yeah.
As I was talking about earlier, there's going to be a couple of 2 RF cine cameras being announced this year. I think one of them is the C500 Mark II, and I believe the other one is the C700, is what they're calling it, as of what I believe is coming out right now. But there hasn't been any new developments from those.
No.
Since I think we heard about it from at least late last year in November, I think.
I think we're going to hear a lot of announcements.
Probably, Plus, yeah.
See, in February probably.
I think they're going to hold a lot of their announcements of high-end primes like that for when they either throw out the R3 Mark II or when they throw out the R1 on the market, because those are the two bodies that those lenses would instantly sell with, I would think.
Yeah, and there seems to be a big resurgence of people asking for big wide lenses. Panasonic and Sony have been doing big wide lenses in primes. So there seems to be, it's the market saturation. It's good for them to keep up. So that's good. But there definitely needs to be more of and that was one of always Canon's problem areas was from 50 to 135. There wasn't a whole lot of options. As in
the
prime.
ones we had, and the ones we had were outdated.
Yes. So it would be interesting to see if they can come up with something in primes that can fill in some of those gaps that were left.
I wish they could. Range. I wish they could come back with a modern version of the 200 1.8.
Oh yes,
that's old, isn't it?
That's old. What? That's like from the 80s.
Yeah, that's old, but it still costs as much as a brand new EF500.
It's supply and demand. That's why it's so hard to get hold of.
Someday, if I have the spare cash, I go to something like that comes across my screen, then I might be dumb enough to have one just to have it. Because a friend of mine had one until it got broke.
It's like that 50 mil F1.
Yeah. I saw one for sale the other day on eBay.
Like what, $4,000?
Did you press?
2,900.
What?
Yeah.
I could have bought that. Oh man, I want that.
I could have, but I was like, I don't use that lens.
Did you know that is the fastest aperture autofocus lens
ever made? Yep,
ever
I know.
Yep. That is amazing, and it's so, my God, it's so pretty.
It blows even the modern 1.2 out of the water so far. And that nobody even talks about it.
If you're doing 50's good for portraits, and if you're doing portraits imagine you're at F1. Imagine stopping down to F1.4.
Yeah, I had to step down because it was too bright.
Stop down because it's too bright, and you're still at F1.4. This is just like,
step down 2 steps already.
Didn't they take that to space?
No,
NASA.
They did. They took it to space.
Yep.
I thought they did. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Last question. Steve Coons. My question is: should I go for the EOS R or the 6D Mark II, or just use my existing 90D for a trip to Alaska?
Ooh.
R6.
I think he said R6 or R7. Did you say R6?
No, it's choosing between the EOS R and the 6D Mark II. Probably
Oh,
on price.
6D Mark II. Sorry.
Ah.
So you got mirrorless
that's
SLR.
Well, that's R. I would go with the R.
Yeah.
Simply because it's slightly newer,
Yeah.
slightly
better
slightly higher,
autofocus, better color
slightly better
rendering.
yeah.
5D Mark IV in effect, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, the 6D Mark II will still be perfectly capable of doing
stunning
anything,
images.
stunning images of anything else that you can get out of there.
The question is, what kind of glass?
Those two cameras are pretty much on par with each other. They have almost they have almost the exact same processor. They both have the Digic X, and they're both no. The R has slightly higher megapixel count at 30, and then the 6D is a 26. Not even a noticeable difference.
No,
so
makes really no big impact.
If you were really worried about having to crop into something or something like that, then if you're worried about cropping, then go with the R. If you're not too worried about it, the 6D can be perfectly capable, and
more affordable, most likely.
Yeah, and they're probably about the same price range right now that you can get for either used. Yeah,
I haven't looked. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't looked at either one because they are not in.
I will say that the touch screen on the R is way more user friendly than the one on the 6D Mark II. 6D Mark II is very rudimentary. It was one of their first full frame. Yeah, it was not a very user friendly 6D.
Well, you got about 5,000 focus points on the R, pretty much.
Yeah,
big difference. He's mentioned using the 90D instead, his existing 90D in Alaska. Well,
I would not do instead. I would in addition of.
It would depend on what time of year it is, really. Because
that's true.
If it's like during the summer months, you'd be fine with a 90D. But if it's during the dark months, you'd want a full frame, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. But for Alaska, just weather-wise, I would want something weather sealed.
Yeah, with the R. Well, then the 6D Mark II is weather sealed as well.
Yeah. But I would I would cut out the 90 unless I put one lens on, and that's the lens that stays on until my trip is over.
Yeah.
Well, 90D is weather sealed as well, isn't it? No. Well, I had it. It was.
Save your money, buy a backpack to carry all of them.
Bring it all.
Bring it all.
Yeah. Well, unless you know someone that kind of has a one that you can borrow as a tester. Because I think they've been testing some cameras to certain individuals, haven't they?
Yes.
Those lucky sods getting hold of certain cameras. Like the R3s, I think they were testing those at the Olympics, weren't they? When they weren't officially out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were probably testing the R6 IIs at the World Series. Remember, that's what Jared Polin was shooting with one in a video, and he's like, I can't show you this. And then just like a few weeks after the World Series ended and everything, Canon came out with the R6 II, and he's like, oh, well, since I was shooting with the R6 II at the World Series, and so it's a very weird game how some of these YouTubers and influencers work with these companies. It's a very interesting game, and it's one of the reasons why I have decided to stay out of it, particularly for at least for this moment.
I just looked it up. The 90D is actually weather sealed.
Yes, to a pretty good degree. It's actually one of the best from their crop censored cameras. Probably still on par with like the R7.
Yeah, I
did not know that. Learned something today. Good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did not know that the 90D is weather sealed. But just for capability in all, either the R or 6 Mark II, I think would be still outperforming the 90D in pretty much any aspect out there.
Yeah. So definitely the R. I would say the R.
Yeah.
I think when it comes neck to neck, I would recommend the R.
And the R, not the RP. Don't.
No, R.
Don't get the RP. Get the R.
Well, saying that, Brent Hall uses the RP, but I think it is a bit sluggish.
Yeah.
You know.
And the autofocus points are a little harder to set and understand. It's a slightly it was a amalgamation of what should have been the between the 5D Mark V and the 6D Mark III, and it was a very weird camera for them to make. Yeah.
Well, saying that, even the EOS R isn't that fast when I compare it to the R6. You know, it acts like a digital SLR.
No, not the R6. He's comparing it to the 6D Mark II.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The R6, yes. Compared to the R6, it's night and day. But you know, you're talking about something that was not that far off for a long time. You know, just remember, only recently have our standards just skyrocketed comparing to what we think a normal standard camera is nowadays. Remember, just like a few years ago, it was unheard of to have 14, 12 frames a second in something that can do 30 frames per second. Electronic? Are you kidding me?
Well, if
you were talking like high speed cameras and things like that, not something you could just buy off, so just a few years ago, and I think people need to realize that these are very insurmountable expectations for a lot of the stuff that they're comparing older stuff to. Of course, it's not going to live up to the newest expectations because it wasn't built to the same specifications.
Yep.
So you don't need to compare all the older stuff to the newer stuff and just use with what you have and be happy with it.
Yeah.
Unless you have outgrown your camera or your gear and like, hey, I can't get the shots I need because of autofocus issues, frame per second issues, low light capabilities. That's when you upgrade your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, start a discussion. Message one of us, any three of us.
Yeah, we'll happily talk with you all day.
Yeah.
I don't know about all day. All day?
I'll buy you a Red Bull. Or 2. There he is.
Well, I like to have moderators who engage in these live streams. Because I think it's good that we get on here and show people and talk about photography that is informative, whether it be a beginner, intermediate, or professional level. It's all about sharing information, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
It would have been a lot easier if we had groups like this 15 years ago or 10 years ago when we got serious and had to figure all that stuff out by ourselves by reading the damn manual.
Oh, God.
Well, believe it or not, when I started doing these live streams to try and get people on, all the other photography groups don't do this.
Nope.
None of them.
Really? Yeah, probably not.
No, not even the advice groups that are out there for off-camera flash or whatever.
Yeah. Some of the behind-the-scenes groups that I look at, none of them do that.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yeah. You get a picture of the behind the scene, you get a picture of the finished product, but there's no nothing haptic about it. You can't get really in between it. It's you look at 2 images like, okay. But then that's it. There's no back and forth. There's no real exchange of tips and tricks. There's just like, here, this is my setting. Well, shit, my camera can't do that setting. What do I do now?
Well, one thing I don't want the Facebook group to become is just a holding area for images. And I have noticed certain individuals are using the Facebook group like a storage thing for their images.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
I know what you mean.
it's not for that. Not to share all your images. Just share selected ones that you think are really good.
Sometimes
Yes.
that's how I try to do it. And even if you want to share 20 of your lion, your giraffe, your bird, your deer, your elk, whatever, put them in one post, please. Don't make me approve 20 posts of 20 times the same.
Yes.
The same kitty cat sitting on the same couch with a slightly different facial expression or something. I will approve him because there's nothing wrong about him, but put him in one post.
Or create an album and then put your
That's
image.
fine.
That's a good idea. Can we create one album for bald eagles, please?
Well, you can create individual ones, can't you?
We must have a misrepresentation of America. People think that there's bald eagles everywhere with the amount of pictures.
There's really not
bald eagles in this group.
And they're not that impressive birds either. They're pretty. They have a really weird cry. They
in
like,
Alaska, they're called trash birds.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
All right. Well, they go in trash.
Oh, they go. They
go for everything.
They will eat everything and ravage through trash bins.
You know, seagulls on a seaport around a boat.
Yeah.
That's bald eagles in Alaska on a pier.
Yeah.
Right.
Bald eagles are the Alaska seagulls.
Right.
They're pretty, but that's about all they are.
Yeah, and it's a mix of brown eagles too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
not as majestic as they're led to believe.
Because for me, I'm planning.
Hey, 1 second. Just want to make sure we are not trying to make the bald eagle images we have in the group sound like they're not worth being there.
No.
They are tech shops. They are amazing shots.
Yes.
Just let's get them in one.
I think it's
package.
I think that we could use some of these images to do like some of the new. I was looking at a coin. I think it was a new nickel the other day, and it had the eagle on it. It was a horrible die cast, but they took it from a picture or some kind of image or drawing or something, and I was like, why can't we take all these great pictures with all this great photography gear? You can't find somebody that can just do that and put it on the coin? No, we had to use this shitty image, and I was like, that's our currency, and we can't make it better. And yet, guys in the Facebook group can make it look better.
Stunning images.
Yeah, it's just.
On a Sunday morning before breakfast.
Yeah. So maybe in another stream we could maybe critique some images as well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because I'd like to see if we can.
Let's ask people to submit their images to be critiqued.
Yeah.
Let's not just pick them ourselves because that will just cause
and only
animosity.
if they will probably agree to be on the stream as well. But then I don't see anything bad coming from us critiquing people's images.
Hell no. That would be like me making fun of somebody's video camera clicking out all the time.
No.
But well, to make that easy, I will submit for the next one. If we do that, I will submit 5 images to be critiqued.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Good.
And I will guidelines. They have to be images that you have either shot before, that you have not edited and published.
Like
in RAW?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting challenge. How about in before and after? I will submit 5 in RAW and the same 5 processed.
Okay.
Process, not photoshopped. There's a difference.
Oh yes.
I don't do Photoshop. I do Lightroom.
Yeah. I can't. Strictly Lightroom. That's fine.
Yeah. Let's do 5 RAWs. Then we talk about composition and that sort of stuff, and then we look at the same image process done and what I or you or whoever submitting to was actually going for with the image and what the final product is.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like we could create like a challenge.
Yeah.
In the group doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then make specific. We could do that. That sounds like fun.
And if we get too many people, we go down to 1 or 2 images each, raw and processed.
Yeah.
So be done.
We could create a bracket. Hey, March is coming up. We could have our own March Madness, the Sweet 16.
Ooh. March Madness photo
Yeah.
critique. That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it.
critiquing
Paul,
a
let's aim for
critique.
that. Let's see that we get people together on the group, and let's do like a mid-March live stream
Yeah.
for photo critiquing of raw and final product.
Yeah. If anyone's watching this still, I'm looking for guests. So if you're interested to come on, just get in touch with one of us, and I'll be happy to bring you on. It's just it is difficult getting people to agree to come on, because
Anybody, you don't have to be shooting with professional high-end gear. You don't have to be a photographer for 30 years. You can have started. You could have gotten your first camera on Christmas 2022. You're still welcome on the live stream because you still have something to talk about. And if you don't give advice, you can ask for advice, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
It does not matter your level of or your abilities or your gear or whatever. Anybody can be here.
Yeah.
Ha! See, Colin is even still here. Colin, next time, get a camera. You have to be on here. You have been here long enough. You have been reeled in. You have no choice.
All you need is a camera, a computer, and a microphone. That's all you need. And most computer laptops have all that anyway.
I'm going to say, I'm pretty sure that's what Blake was doing. I'm pretty sure Blake was sitting there with a laptop.
Yeah.
So that's all you need.
Yeah.
So yes, Colin, consider yourself officially invited for the next live stream.
And Colin, sorry for insinuating if you thought that I meant you were a robot. That's not what I meant. Okay.
Did you? Did you say that? I don't remember.
Well, when I
wasn't going
brought up
to point it out.
When I brought up about the AI stuff, I didn't want him to think that I insinuated he was a robot. So, just in case you were wondering, that's not what I was insinuating.
I just want to touch on something that he talked about. Colin did regarding the fun wheel on the R7.
Oh.
I was put off about it, but after I got used to it after a while, I didn't think it was a big problem. So, it's just because you got some preconceptions about something, sometimes trying something. I tell you what might be a good idea. Just rent it and see how you go. Because you might find that wheel is great because it's near your phone. Other people might hate it. It's personal preference. In the end.
Wait, people don't have to agree with me?
How very German of you to say that.
Ooh, that's might be a tough thing to say,
Well, he's in Texas. Everything's big in Texas, even the mouse.
Yeah.
I thought they had the shoes.
Touche.
I'm sorry, my superiority scares you.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like you're the only one, Colin, even though it says 0 eyeballs on the actual stream. But obviously, more people will see it on the YouTube channel as well.
See, I actually have it on my phone open as well.
Nice.
But I just have it on pause because otherwise we would get audio
feedback.
delayed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
do you actually stream it live to the group as well? Did you figure that out?
I think it's a paid service.
It's difficult to do multiples at one time without.
I think if I paid the subscription, which was £20 a month, I'm also already paying a ton of things at the moment.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
But what I have been doing is creating an album within the group where I upload these streams to it. So even if people are not able to watch it in the Facebook group, they can go to the album, click on it, and watch it in Facebook.
Yes.
So,
hey, I also want to say, very nice work on your little intro that you did there, Paul. Especially with the logo and the transition and the music behind it. It was very well.
He did that on his last. He did that for his last review video, and I already pointed it out to him too. How much I liked the little intro he did.
Yeah.
It really is kind of putting its own little stamp, own little mark on your videos, on your channel, and I think that's important.
I actually sort of copied the idea off another YouTuber. I think it's called Jagner. He's in Australia, and he opens up one of his videos where he gets a camera and pretends to take some picture. So I thought I took that idea and then montaged some of the other videos I've done in the past with small
Yeah.
clips.
I think it works great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, 90% of photography is looking at what somebody else did and developing it for yourself from there on.
And 100% of YouTube photography is looking at what Peter McKinnon does and then doing exactly the same thing.
Yep. Exactly. Hey.
Wow.
All right. Well, I think that was a
Yes.
good live stream again.
Mates.
Right.
We had
And
managed
all-
even to
as
have
always-
5 people.
As always, it ends up with us 3.
It always
It's like
does.
if the end of the world happened,
We'll still be here on live.
It'd still be here. We'd still
Yeah.
be here.
Well-
3 Musketeers.
Well, I suppose I should do a bit of a disclaimer, shouldn't I? Because you've been really helpful, you two guys, for promoting the group and being active moderators and participating in these live streams. That's why I decided to send you $10 each.
And that was highly appreciated.
yes.
It really was. It was a nice surprise. I'm sorry I didn't find the email. It got buried in all my 40-something Amazon emails a day.
I had to remind him about that he actually received it. You see.
I was like, he's like, do you see something? No. Something here? Nope. Did you check that folder? Yep, nothing there. Because I looked for his name. I didn't look for Amazon.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then we finally figured it out. And I used that to help pay for one of my new memory cards for the camera.
So be honest, Alan. Be honest. What did you spend it on?
I got caps.
So you actually spent it on the cap?
I got 4 I got 4 body caps and 3 back caps for lenses.
Nice.
Because I only had I had lost one of the Sigma ones and then one of my other, because I have other lenses on my shelf in the other room that are broken that didn't have any caps on them. So I was like, I need to get some caps on those 2. So yes, I did.
Perfect.
And then I think I still have like $2 something left, and I was probably going to get like a $1 Audible book or something.
Nice. I do Audible books all the time. Wherever I drive in my car, I hardly ever listen to music these days. I usually do audiobooks nowadays. I love them.
Have you listened to the Ghostbusters Audible book?
I haven't, but you know, it's funny
really
that you mentioned that. I actually watched Ghostbusters, the movie, the original one. Yeah, the original one.
Not the female
just
one.
this last week. No, the original one. Just this last week.
Yeah,
it was really great.
Yeah, I like number 2 as well. It's a shame they never come out with a 3rd one.
Oh
yeah. Also, well, technically, Ghostbusters Afterlife is the 3rd one. It is a official continuation of the line. It is not a standalone movie. It is Ghostbusters 3.
Didn't they announce that they were going to?
There's another one coming, and they are going back to New York.
All right.
Yeah.
Are they using the original cast on that or no?
Well, this will be the last one for all the surviving cast members.
Right.
They all have agreed that they're gonna disappear in the next movie to not be constantly there or don't have to be there anymore, and it opens up the franchise for future use for new movies, new spin-offs.
Yeah, like Rocky, you know, because he's done some Apollo Creed ones, hasn't he? Where his son's come back. Not Apollo Creed, but his son's Creed.
Yeah.
Jonathan Creed, was it?
Apollo Creed, yeah.
No, that's obviously his son is being trained by
Adonis Creed.
Yeah, that's probably
yeah, that's what his name was.
Because I watched the I think they've just brought out a new one, but the older one I watched where Rocky trains him up, and I thought, well, this is a really good film. You know,
just have to say it. The Ghostbusters original movie novelization, is free right now on Amazon.
Oh, really?
It says 0.00.
If it's not narrated by Bill Murray, I don't want to listen to it.
Really? Oh. But it's still
see.
I think someone else narrates it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Who's it narrated by?
I think if you have to have a...
narrator is Johnny Heller.
No. Probably some generic stock voice sounding guy.
Still quite good.
Yeah.
All right, now just because you said that, let's listen to the audio sample.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh no, I think you're gonna like that guy talking. He is not a off the hook voice.
No, it's good.
He matches the movie. Yeah, I like that reading.
You know we can't really hear you.
No, but you can click on the same link if you go to Amazon.
Oh, yeah. I don't.
I think you have to have an active Amazon subscription with Audible for it to get it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I gotta go start taking care of my horses a little bit for the night.
And I'm hungry too.
You're always hungry. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you again for a nice live stream.
Yes,
thanks for having us.
Great.
No problem.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good to see you guys again.
Good seeing you too, Paul and Alan both. And I hope we'll have one again soon in February or so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Hope so. Can't wait.
All righty. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good night, Paul.
All right. You too, mate.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Right, that ends the live stream. So we've got one more comment here. Got to be narrated by Mr. Puffy Marshmallow Man. Yes, I love that Marshmallow Man. Used to have the toy when I was a kid. Anyway, we'll end the stream there. It's gone on for 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's a shame we don't get more people coming on to the live stream. I'm not a big YouTuber, so hopefully we'll get more views. We do tend to get some views, about 100 views throughout a month or so in the actual YouTube channel. I will upload a copy of this into the Facebook group under album, under live stream, so you can always listen to it and watch it back. To be honest with you, I listen back to the live streams when people have gone on, because I like to, listen to what everyone has to say, and I find it really interesting listening to myself, just me. And hopefully you guys enjoy it too. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Remember to like the live stream. That would be appreciated. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, I would appreciate that as well. And hopefully we'll have another one in the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending on people availability. And I just wanted to say to Colin Deacon, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And the more people come here and watch the streams, the more I think people will enjoy it. There's always a bit of debate, a bit of banter, we're playing off each other, answering questions, and we'll see you in the next one. So I'll end it there. What I'll do is I'll play the banner video to finish off the stream, and when it ends, obviously I'll terminate the live stream. So thank you everyone, thanks for watching, and enjoy the video.
I'm in forest looking for some exciting images of birds. Let's just see what we can get.